the bang bang of the gunshots, and it just started going crazy, and people were pushing. We thought it was a joke. We didn't take it seriously at first. It's kind of like you freeze because it sounded like firecrackers, and you kind of just like everyone just dropped down to the floor, and then
again, so I thought it was a joke, and
we couldn't get out because the shooting was on that side. So then our friends got the bar stools and they started slamming it against the window so we could get out. That's how we were able to get out. They broke the window. They broke the window and we were able to climb out and get out.
Young people, a lot of them college students, scrambling for their lives late last night in Southern California when a gunman walked in to a bar loaded with college kids, 18 and up, and opened fire. He had a handgun with an extended magazine, reloaded at least twice, ended up killing 11 of those kids, maybe adults as well, and one sheriff's deputy before he was killed as well.
Yeah, the sheriff's deputy, 29 years on the force, was set to retire next year, and we're going to hear from the sheriff in just a little bit. There was a press conference earlier this morning where he talked a bit about what happened inside and more about that sheriff's deputy. And if you're just joining us this morning, this happened while you were sleeping. It was about 11:20 last night at the Borderline Bar and Grill. And again, this is down south in Ventura. A couple of colleges nearby where students would frequent on Wednesday night. This was Country College night, as Daria mentioned, 18 and up, so you didn't have to be 21 to go, and there were a lot of college kids there.
Yeah, apparently this is a popular bar with Pepperdine and with Cal Lutheran, and actually our reporter, Sarah Stinson, has been to that bar, and we have her live right now to tell us a little bit more about. Sarah, we heard some of the kids inside talking about how they had to break the windows to get out through the back. So the gunman walked in and started firing in the front. Tell us about the setup of this bar and what we would see, how it's laid out.
Well, good morning. Obviously, this is truly devastating. Anyone who has been there, everyone from my college, because I went to Cal State Northridge, which is also a college that frequently goes to this country line dancing type of bar. Well, everyone is just in shock because there's always a long line to get in, so that's why it's kind of confusing. If they went in at 11:30, around 11, I feel like the line would have been still pretty long, so that's why it's very shocking that someone would be able to get in there with a gun or guns. Obviously, we're still learning more, but yeah, it's just shocking because it is a huge bar and grill. I mean, this is a huge layout of a bar. They have different areas. They have a dancing area where they sometimes teach line dancing, and then on the other side they've got like different types of games. They have like a wraparound bar area, and like you said, 18 and older, because this was a college night, which often a lot of college students go to. So different types of the bars. So that's why it's just devastating to hear that some of these young people were just dancing and then just fell to the ground. Other people were laying over other people trying to protect them. So this is just mostly devastating for me because I went to college down there, and Lutheran University down there, Pepperdine, Cal State University, Northridge. A lot of people go there just to have a fun night. There's country line dancing, and the fact that at 11:30 this broke out, I mean, I just don't know how this person got through the long line. It takes a long time to get in there, and sometimes the line wraps around the building. So it's just a lot to learn about how this even unraveled.
And Sarah, give us an idea as best as you can remember the layout, because we just heard from that one young person who said they had to break a window to get out. Is there just that main one entrance that people come in and out of? Are there back entrances, or were people forced to, as she said, break windows just to get out and get past the gunman?
Yeah, they try to keep it just one way in, one way out, because again, this is like 18 and older and 21 and older as well. So like they don't want younger people, younger than 18, to get in. So they do regulate that very hard. So that's why they keep the door very, that's why I'm surprised that a gunman even got inside. So people trying to get out, I'm not surprised. There are tons of windows there. If you're trying to get out, yeah, I can only imagine people using chairs, bar stools, trying to get out, because at that point, you're just kind of hiding for cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting in and out of that place would be very difficult, especially with, the lockdown they try to do to make sure that younger, less than 18-year-olds don't get inside.
Okay, so there's that one door in the front, but there's no other doors to get out of. But you do say there are lots of windows around.
Yeah, lots of windows around. There's these ramps that go around on the side for the line, and there might be an outdoor smoking area. I don't know about that for sure, but yeah, it's not a huge way to get in and out. They make it very, they have to check ID.
Right.
Well, Sarah, from what we're understanding about the weapon the gunman used, it was apparently a handgun with extended magazines that he reloaded several times. So I suppose if he was wearing a jacket, that might have been easy for him to conceal to get past the bouncers and get inside.
And there were at least one victim I saw that had been shot and killed was outside.
Yeah.
So, and we do know that the first people that he shot when he got in was the doorman and the cashier. So so he went right in and started in the front, and then as everyone was scrambling, running for their lives, trying to get out, he just continued to shoot. He had it.
Yeah, you would be a bit trapped in there.
Yeah, and look, now, Sarah, we just were able to get some file video of the inside of the bar. This shows us you think of a small bar, but like you were trying to explain, this is a massive place.
A lot of people
with lots of different areas.
Line dancing, and I mean, how many people do you suppose typically go there on a Wednesday night for a college country night?
I would say hundreds try to go, but they obviously have a line wrapped around, so I don't know what their capacity is, but it is definitely a huge bar. And it's a bar and grill, so they do have a restaurant inside as well, but at this time, it's college students going out. When you're 18, you can't go to a bar, so this is their fun college night.
Right. This is our first video of the bar and grill, so it really does give you a much better idea how
and
big
again,
it is.
to be clear, this is not video from last night. This is promotional video from their website advertising the fun that all the people have when they come there. And as we can see here, it is a large capacity venue with a lot of people, a lot of young people that typically come on these Wednesday college nights. And again, as Sarah reminded us, there are several universities where students come from.
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to say, Sarah, thanks for your perspective. And I want to give you a little time now to get off the phone so that you can call any maybe friends or family or anybody you know in that area. If you know anybody still at the colleges there that you're concerned about, follow up. Maybe you can talk to them and hear what they know. So we'll talk to you in a little bit, okay?
All right, cool.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sarah. So this is obviously a developing story. What we're wondering and what the police are wondering now is motive.
Right.
Who was this gunman and why did he open fire? And we're not sure whether he killed himself, but it appears that he did, because it doesn't appear there was anybody else armed in that bar other than the sheriff's deputy who went in and was shot and killed immediately.
And again, Pepperdine, as we mentioned, one of the universities where students come from to go to this bar, they issued a tweet this morning. I just want to read it quickly before we get back to some more of the witness accounts of what happened.
Yeah.
The tweet reads, "The university has determined that multiple Pepperdine students were on site at Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks. At this time, the university is working to identify and provide support to those students. Pepperdine officials are working with authorities right now and will provide updates as more information is available. The university offers its deepest condolences and its prayers for everybody involved in tonight's tragic events." And I can only imagine there are probably a number of parents waking up this morning who have children that go to CSU Northridge, that go to Pepperdine. Maybe you haven't heard from your child yet, but again, Pepperdine has confirmed that some of its students were at this bar and grill, and we hope that your child is safe this morning. But if you haven't heard from them, please try and contact them just to verify for yourself.
And we're taking a look here at the hospital where a lot of the, we have video of the hospital where a lot of the injured were sent, because there were about a dozen people who were injured. injured, and they have bullet wounds as well. It is, if you know guns at all, and one of the girls that we heard interviewed, her father's in the military, she said that it definitely looked like this guy was very familiar with guns because he was able to change. He had an extended magazine on the handgun, and he was able to change within about 6 seconds. Which
are illegal, by the way.
And yeah, in California. And we know that he reloaded at least twice. Do we have a little bit more sound? We can hear more from some of the people who are in that bar.
I mean, he was shooting everything from the speakers to anything, so what we really saw was just smoke, and we just saw the shots taking off, so we just tried to get down as fast as we could and get out of there. I heard the shots, and everyone kind of just got down and started freaking out, running around. I just told her to get down, get out, let's just move, we need to get out of here before, anything gets happened. We don't know where he's coming from. It was a semi-automatic. Yeah. I just heard 18 to 20 rounds at a time, that's all I heard before I got out.
Our main concern was just take cover, hoping that all of our friends that were in there also could get out safe. I didn't see anyone else that was down that stayed down, but I mean, it was such a blur. I don't even know what to think of it still.
Again, what we're looking at now is the police investigation to find out more about the gunman and why he opened fire. All we know right now is that he was dressed in dark clothes from head to toe, a black trench coat, something covering his face described as a mask or a bandana, glasses, a hat. So it was hard to see, who he was. And you're just looking at all of the extra, a dozen kids and young people who were injured in this, in addition to the 11 young people and the sheriff's deputy who were killed. That's 12, and then the gunman. Yeah, and again, we did hear earlier this morning from Ventura County Sheriff Jeff Dean, and we'll play some of those sound bites throughout the morning for you, but he described this, and he broke up a couple of times during that press conference, overcome with the emotion of the moment, but he described the scene in there as, quote, a horrific scene. He said there was a lot of blood in there and that he didn't want to go too far in for fear of contaminating the scene. Now, he said that they have confirmed the one handgun with those extended magazines, but he said they're not ruling out that another weapon might have been used. They haven't done a full sweep inside yet. And there are kids that say that there were smoke bombs that went off as well. So that's part of what might have made it more difficult for them to escape. Right. All right, we're going to have more on this. It's our only big story this morning, our developing story. We have wall-to-wall coverage on it. We'll have team coverage and live reports as well. But right now, we want to take a look here closer to home and get a look at the weather and traffic that you have to take a look at before you head out to work.
Thanks so much, guys. And stepping outside today, we do have dry conditions out there, and that's the biggest thing you have to note as far as weather goes today, because even though temperatures are pretty much the same as they have been the past few days, winds have picked up, as well as some very dry conditions out there with relative humidity falling below 10%. So fire weather warnings, red flag warnings in effect as we speak, will take us through the evening tonight and eventually into tomorrow morning too. Winds gusting as high as 45 miles per hour in some of these areas that are lit up in red, which you can see is quite a lot of the Bay Area, especially right above 1,000 feet. Here's a look at temperatures today. They'll be eventually up into the 70s, 70 in San Francisco, Oakland at 74. San Jose actually a little bit cooler than yesterday, only hitting 73 degrees for your daytime high. I've got more in your forecast still to come. Robin.
Thank you, John. Traffic is filling in quickly at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. Some of the cash lanes are getting a little crowded here at the pay gates, mostly on the left-hand side. So it's going to be sluggish from just about the middle of the parking lot, but this is still a pretty good commute coming into San Francisco. Here's 92, and we have more brake lights filling in going west. No big problems so far. It is under 15 minutes to make it from 880 to 101. West 580 to the Richmond-Santa Fe Bridge. A minor wait in some of the cash lanes here, but a great ride across the span. More drive times coming up. James?
All right, thank you very much, Robin. And again, the breaking news that we're following this morning, the mass shooting to our south near Ventura, college night at a local bar. We have 11 people killed, plus a sheriff's deputy also killed, and the gunman dead as well this morning. We'll update you on the very latest coming into our newsroom in just a minute. Stay with us.
From the Bay Area's local news station, we begin now with breaking news.
And that breaking news, you see it on your screen, a sight we've seen before. Hillsides on fire. The campfire that's burning in Butte County right now has exploded to 20,000 acres, and all of that in just one day.
And people in their cars, as you can see, escaping the flames, driving through fire on either side as they tried to get out. Hundreds of homes, however, have been destroyed. Those mandatory evacuation orders are in place. Kron 4's Allie Reed got the chance to talk to some of the evacuees from the town of Paradise.
Dozens of families have checked in here at the Gridley Fairgrounds. They had no idea when they woke up Thursday morning that they'd be scrambling for their lives.
Everything was burning around me. I had to leave my cat in the house because she wouldn't get in the cage, and, I had to go.
The raging campfire picked up speed throughout Thursday, taking out the entire town of Paradise.
Scary. I've never seen anything like it, how fast that thing moved. When they said get out, they meant get out.
Families grabbed what they could and got out.
I had the clothes on my back, that's it.
I grabbed my photo albums, my medication, I've been really sick the last 3 years, all of my medical stuff, but that's it.
For many, it was an overwhelming feeling.
I cried. I was so scared, and I usually don't cry in a bad situation like that. But I just cried for about 5 minutes. I had to, and then I got myself back together.
The Red Cross has 3 evacuation centers. There's also a church in Chico and another in Oroville that are taking residents in.
Anyone who needs a warm place to sleep, some warm food, hot food, 3 meals a day.
Right now, thousands of structures in Paradise have been destroyed. The exact amount will be determined once fire officials can get back in there. For now, residents are grateful to have gotten out alive.
I would have nightmares for years over my cat. That's all I can say. It was just like a war zone. You could hear the transformers and people's propane tanks just exploding everywhere around you.
You could see it just on the skyline. It was like, if we were close, it would probably be about 3 or 4 stories high, at least. And then I saw some of the flames going up into twisters. I mean, just whipping like this, up into twisters, up and down.
It's about to be a long road ahead for many of the people evacuated from Paradise. One sigh of relief for the people here at Gridley Fairgrounds. This evacuation center takes large animals, and people have been taking advantage. We saw a number of trailers with horses inside. Reporting from Butte County, Alicia Reed, Kron 4 News.
And we are feeling the effects all the way here to the Bay Area. I know you felt it yesterday. I woke up this morning thinking it'd be better. It feels worse.
Yeah, even when you get to work, you might not find relief. Here, we've got a lot of smoke in the building as well as the AC systems are pulling air in from outside. There's no escaping it. Kron 4's Sarah Stinson is in Lafayette right now with smoky conditions there as well. Sarah?
Good morning, that's right. In Lafayette and in the whole East Bay area, you can really feel the smoke. Obviously, it's dark right now, so you can't really see the smoke, but you can feel it in your throat, in your eyes. My eyes were burning all morning long. Try to put some drops in. They still feel dry, and I wanted to show you how smoky it is, but it's hard to tell because it's so dark. You can see it very well when you're driving in the headlights. You can see that smokiness, and it's very bad. They're calling it unhealthy for sensitive groups here in the East Bay area. Parts very unhealthy, and then in the North Bay it's even worse. So today is not the day for you to go outside, go for a run, bike ride, mow the lawn, gardening. It's all out of the question. Stay inside today. Take care of yourself because the air quality is awful and you do not want to be breathing this in. And we'll have to see here in the East Bay if they'll have any school closures or any games canceled. I would not be surprised, but definitely a day to stay inside, especially for those sensitive groups, those with asthma and the elderly. So definitely stay inside. We heard from Robin earlier. She left her window open all night and her house was full of smoke. So keep those windows closed. That will help. I'm live in Lafayette. Sarah Stinson, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. I went to a restaurant last night. Lady came in, she had the mask on, and then she took it off. Just even from the car, you know, from the house to the car, from the car to work, that kind of thing.
And I wouldn't be surprised if kids' PE today
canceled.
Canceled or, yeah, brought inside
Our
for
activities,
sure.
Crew, you know, rowing was canceled yesterday. And then also, don't forget your pets, too.
Yeah,
you don't want to just
inside if you can, absolutely. And a lot of this reason why we've got all this smoke is the winds, right? So we want to visit with John in the Weather Center for part of our team coverage. When will the winds turn? When are we going to get some relief?
You guys, fortunately, winds have calmed down, but those winds yesterday just brought it right here into the Bay Area. It couldn't have been a more direct path either. Straight from the fire right out here to the Bay. And that's why we have these scenes like we saw yesterday on the San Mateo Bridge out here, which you can see that hazy glow that everyone's been referencing. Very apparent out there in the skies. Sure did make for a pretty scene, but it hurts to be breathing it in. And we've got that same situation going on this morning. Here's your view from the Berkeley cam. Now, normally you'd see a little bit of a blurriness from fog or marine layer. This is all smoke right here. You can see that orangish glow to it hanging out across the East Bay. Can hardly even see the peninsula in the distance. It is dense this morning, no better than yesterday was. As for the Golden Gate Bridge, it is also smoky well out to the coast. Those winds having pushed it all the way offshore to Point Reyes, North Bay, as Sarah was mentioning, among our worst as far as smoke impact goes, right around San Pablo Bay as well, and then right in San Francisco too. Some of the better areas are further south in the Bay, but that doesn't mean you're out of the woods. We're all in the same boat today as far as the smoky conditions are concerned, and it is going to be hanging out with us well through your afternoon, so something to note. Now, we still do have red flag warnings in effect, but not for much longer. They only extend till 7 a.m. this morning. Now, part of the reason for that is even though conditions are still dry and warm, winds are subsiding. Already this morning, winds are much calmer than they were yesterday at this time. And as we move into the afternoon, it will still be dry, but yesterday's humidity was bone dry, falling to as low as 5% in some areas. And when you get humidity that low, that is not a good situation for wildfires. So temperatures this morning a bit cooler than yesterday, which is actually a good sign. That's a sign that we are actually looking at some lighter winds. By the time we work towards noon, 60s for temperatures in the afternoon today will bring us some 60s and 70s. Still smoky, still a good one to stay indoors as much as possible. Robin?
Thank you, John. Traffic is picking up. It's a little crowded at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza and some of the cash lanes here, but no major issues into San Francisco. It's going to be a good ride if you leave now. Traffic will continue to fill in, but it shouldn't be too bad since it's Friday. You get a little break on Fridays, not a lot, so do expect to see some crowding out there, just not as much as Tuesday through Thursday. 92, a good ride out of Hayward to the peninsula with no major troubles, and Richmond San Rafael Bridge, hotspot free and delay free, a very quick 7 minutes to San Rafael. I'll check some more drive times coming up for you in a bit in my complete check. James?
All right, thank you, Robin. And so now let's give you updates on the wildfires that are burning in Southern California, because it seems both ends of the state are on fire right now. One of the fires in the Southland is called the Woolsey Fire. It has burned around 8,000 acres right now in Ventura County. It's caused 30,000 residents to evacuate. About 1,000 homes are being threatened right now as firefighters are actively trying to defend structures. Steep terrain has made the burn area at this point inaccessible. So that's the first fire that's burning in Southern California.
And the second fire in Ventura County is this one, the Hill Fire. It's grown to 10,000 acres, forcing about 1,200 residents from their homes. Heavy smoke forced officials to close the roads, including 101 in this area in both directions. They're concerned about the winds that were overnight, spreading the flames, and so we'll be watching for new numbers throughout the morning.
Well, the tight-knit community of Thousand Oaks, California, is paying tribute now to the victims who were gunned down and killed at that popular bar that we told you about yesterday morning.
12 people, all young people, except for the sergeant that was killed. And investigators are releasing new information this morning about the gunman who did it. They're trying to figure out his motives for going into that bar.
So Paul Vackerman right now in Thousand Oaks has the very latest on that and the story.
A moving tribute as a community bands together to remember 11 lives cut short.
I realized, I don't know how I survived that, because at any moment I could have been shot.
Authorities have now identified 6 of the victims who were gunned down during college night at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks. It includes Ron Hellis, a Ventura County Sheriff's deputy being called a hero. He was hoping to retire soon after 29 years with the county. Church volunteer Noel Sparks was also killed, along with Marine Corps vet Dan Manrique, 23-year-old Justin Meeks, college student Elena Housley, and 22-year-old Cody Kaufman.
He stood up and he said to us, "Get out." He's one of the reasons that I'm here right now. He will always be my hero, and now he's my angel.
We're also learning new details about the man authorities say carried out the massacre. Investigators say this 28-year-old former Marine walked inside the popular bar wearing a black trench coat and sunglasses. Authorities say he was armed with a handgun fitted with an extended magazine and opened fire. He was found dead inside.
It's just a miracle that I got out with all my friends alive.
Yeah, that was Paul Vackerman reporting for us this morning. We are learning more about one of the victims killed in the shooting. Elena Housley had just graduated from Vintage High School in Napa. Throughout the day yesterday, friends stopped by Housley's family home to drop off flowers. Housley was a freshman at Pepperdine University. Yesterday in Napa, the flag at Vintage High was lowered in her honor. The school's principal remembers her as a kind, genuine person who all kinds of people were drawn to.
I think it was Elena's authentic, genuine connection to people, seeing the best in others and bringing out the best in her peers. Especially as a senior, I think her ability to connect to younger students on campus, whether it was on the soccer field or in the classroom as a student government leader, she was just herself, and she was comfortable in herself, and she helped other students see that they could do the same.
Counselors will be on hand at the high school today and throughout next week.
It's 5:43 and still ahead on the Kron4 Morning News. We're learning more and we'll show you more about the victims as we continue to follow the Thousand Oaks shooting. And then we're going to look at how the Butte County fire is affecting the Bay Area air quality. More on that. Those are our big stories this morning.
Now, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching the Kron4 Morning News at 5.
Good morning and thanks for waking up with us. Well, it was dry on my commute, but we're looking at Storm Tracker and seeing when that rain's going to fall.
Doesn't look like it's going to stay dry for very long. At the bottom of your screen, that's the wet weather heading our way. Thank you for joining us this morning at 5 a.m. I'm James Fletcher.
And I'm Daria Folsom, and Robin and John are going to get you started with a little weather and traffic. How are things right now?
More rain, more problems. I'm just waiting for something to happen. Reduce your speed since the rain's moving in and leave early because you never know what's going to pop up.
Yeah, what's the timing on this?
Don't have to wait long for it. We're already looking at scattered showers this morning. As we make our way into the early afternoon, timing it will make for some heavier rainfall, I guess you could say. So it's just going to be a gradual increase in rain through the day. Can't put an exact hour on it, but what we are looking at is rainfall in the South Bay right now. That heavy rainfall already increasing within the next 30 minutes. What you're looking at is rainfall really kicking into gear for the South Bay. We've already seen some showers working their way up and down the peninsula. These breaking apart a bit as they work their way further north up into San Pablo Bay and the North Bay itself. What we are really expecting later on is a lot of this shower activity that we're looking at right now to really only increase past the noon hour. Your view outside at Berkeley is showing some overall not bad visibility, so you're driving to work without any fog impact. It's just the rain and those low clouds that you're seeing as you're looking outside. So here's our on and off showers to carry us through the morning. Take a look what happens into the early afternoon. Post noon on into around 4 to 5 p.m. Some of our heaviest rainfall of the day is to be expected. So if you're planning on getting outside, maybe for your lunch break from work at that hour, do make sure you've got the umbrellas and the rain jackets handy. That's when some of the heaviest rainfall is expected to be seen. Showers will continue, like I said, towards around 4 to 5 p.m. after that point, really starting to taper off. After that, some light on and off rainfall to take us through the evening, then into your morning tomorrow. But the heaviest of rain still ahead of us. That comes mid-afternoon tomorrow, right around 3 to 4 p.m. This line of heavy rainfall and very gusty winds associated with it starts to arrive into the Bay Area. This is going to stay with us, not just for 1 or 2 hours, but well through your evening tomorrow. So from mid-afternoon on through your late evening, do expect heavy rainfall. And with the ground already saturated, this is when our flooding risk really starts to kick into gear and when we're going to be taking a look at stream levels. After that, showers exit just as soon as they arrived, and Thursday starts the process of drying out. out. Come Friday and Saturday, we are in for a really nice weekend ahead. As for temperatures, mid to upper 40s, if low 50s out there for some. Definitely a nice way to start the morning as far as temperatures go. You just need the jackets ready to go for your rain and the umbrellas ready for that as well. Temperatures very similar to yesterday for the most part. Santa Rosa is warmer than yesterday. And making our way through the day, post noon is when those showers really pick up, and they'll stay with us through the early afternoon. Robin.
All right, checking in on the Bay Bridge. There is a report of an accident. Looks pretty minor westbound before the pay gates. It happened in one of the fast track lanes. I don't see it here in the camera, but it looks like the cars have moved off to the shoulder. There was a report that there's a bumper still blocking one of the lanes, though. But overall, not too bad. Just a minor wait in the cash lanes on the right and a great drive into San Francisco. We'll look at more bridges and more drive times coming up. Daria James.
Thanks a lot, Robin. 5:03 in the breaking news that we're covering this morning. Vacaville police shot a man after a double stabbing and a house fire.
Yeah, a young child was also hurt in that fire. Kron4's Will Trent live at the scene in Vacaville with the very latest on what we know. Will?
We know that investigators are still at the scene, and this is about 10 hours after it happened. You can see investigators here from the fire department, the police department. That's the home there. Lights are off. It sustained some major damage to the home. It's still up at this particular time. They pretty much know how it started. They believe this man started the fire. 37-year-old Nathaniel Holland. He was in the area at around 7 o'clock last night. Officers actually arrested him about 4.5 hours later. They believe he was the one who stabbed a 43-year-old woman, a 16-year-old daughter, and inside the burning house was a 4-year-old child that suffered some burns. She was rushed to Sacramento to a burn center, but at last check, she was still alive. Now, let me show you video of the scene. This all happened at around 7 o'clock last night when officers heard reports of violence happening at the home. They came to this area. That's when they saw the two victims, the two stab victims at this location. They tried to track down Nathaniel Holland, but he was nowhere near this area. And then at around 11:30, about 4.5 hours later, they were able to spot him about 2 miles from this location, and my location is Alderwood Way. They spotted him on Mason and Depot. They tried to get him to give himself up peacefully. They even used a canine, but in the process, the canine was injured. Something happened, and they're not going into details. Something happened that forced an officer to open fire on Holland. In the meantime, this scene was still chaotic. A lot of people were home at the time when it all went down. Here's reaction from what appears to be a family member who did not want to show her face on camera.
I seen a couple people run across, and then I heard a loud boom. I get out of my car and there's children running from the house screaming. I approach the house and the house is on fire, and the kids are saying, "He stabbed my mom in the neck, he stabbed my mom in the neck."
As far as the injuries to the mom, you heard that lady say, the woman as well as the teenage girl both suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The 4-year-old girl is still in the hospital. As far as the canine rushed to a vet, at last check, they're not saying how that dog is doing, but was alive when it was rushed to the vet. As far as Nathaniel Holland, he too is in the hospital, and at last check, he was alive, but we don't know how injured he was in this officer-involved shooting. As far as this scene, you can see how officers have locked down this area, and a lot of people trying to get up and go to work at this time, but they're having a hard time getting through this area. Back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Will.
5:06 is the time, and on the peninsula, the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office has a warning about home burglaries. There have been 44 burglaries throughout the county in the past few months. Here's a picture of the suspects in one of the burglaries. You can see these crooks breaking into a home. They're targeting homes even when people are inside at the time. Most of the time, though, they say the criminals are staking out and then waiting for you to leave for work or run errands to break in. Officers are now encouraging people to install home surveillance cameras to try to deter the thieves.
To the South Bay now, where San Jose police announced an arrest in the city's first homicide of the year. Police say 25-year-old Michael Ablaza fatally stabbed his mother, Mary Beth. It happened Thursday night at a duplex on Darrell Drive. When officers arrived to the scene, they discovered the body of the mother Oblaza is now booked into the county jail on suspicion of murder. He's being held without bail as the investigation continues. Police have released no information yet about a possible motive in this case. In the meantime, San Jose police are investigating their second homicide of the year. It happened early Sunday morning on Parkmore Avenue and Race Street. Police say the man had been shot. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. No arrests have been made so far.
Police in Milpitas put a man behind bars for stealing a car. A 31-year-old Arthur Carlson was arrested after they got cars about a suspicious car that was parked in a neighbor's carport. And when the cops got there, they found him sleeping in that car and then realized the car had been stolen out of San Jose earlier in the months. And they found drugs in the car as well, including heroin. Happening today, the deadline to enroll in covered California health insurance. If you missed the original deadline in December, you have now until tonight at midnight to get health insurance. If you sign up by today, your coverage would begin February 1st. 5:08 right now, and also today, parents in San Rafael are petitioning to change the name of the Dixie School District. The district was founded in 1864, and it was named after the Confederacy during the Civil War. Some parents feel that the District Board of Trustees has a moral obligation to change the name of the district. Now, the petitions to change the name are going to be presented this morning at the Dixie district offices in San Rafael.
Another big story this morning. The future cost of gas and electricity service is up in the air for millions of PG&E customers after the company has announced it's filing for bankruptcy. Right now, the utility company is facing liabilities from California wildfires surging past $30 billion. Attorney Mike Danko, who represents thousands of California fire victims, doesn't believe filing for Chapter 11 will help fire victims.
I think they're doing this now because they've spent millions and millions of dollars figuring out what's the best scenario for the shareholders. And they have figured out that their best bet for holding on to the most amount of money and keeping the most amount of money out of the hands of their victims is through bankruptcy.
A watchdog group says bankruptcy may also lead to higher rates for customers. As things stand, PG&E is set to declare bankruptcy on January 29th. Governor Gavin Newsom, meanwhile, is keeping a close eye on that situation with PG&E. He's reassuring customers that the bankruptcy protection filing will not affect their electricity or their gas. As for the next steps for the utility, Newsom says bankruptcy and financial experts are helping them now look at different options.
We are assessing whether or not those options include or are limited to the sale of their gas operations, the sale of key assets, including their headquarters in San Francisco, how quickly those assets can be procured by a willing buyer.
A law put into place last year allowed the California Public Utilities Commission to let PG&E issue bonds to pay off its 2017 fire liabilities, bonds that ratepayers paid for. But that doesn't address the 2018 fires, and many believe that an identical law would equate to a bailout in essence.
San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo is back at work after his New Year's Day accident. He is going to lead tonight's city council meeting. The mayor posted this photo yesterday on Twitter with the caption, "Happy to join our team at work." Liccardo has been out since January 1st when he was bicycling in the 600 block of Salt Lake Drive, and he was struck by an SUV. His sternum and vertebrae were fractured, and he has been working from home ever since. He was in the hospital and then the rehab. New this morning, the actress Carol Channing has died. She's known for starring in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Hello, Dolly. She died this morning at her home in Rancho Mirage. She was 97 years old. It's 5:11 and still ahead on the Kron4 Morning News. The names released of the dozens of priests accused of sexual abuse, including here in the Bay Area, and now the church is hoping that will help the victims to heal. And saying goodbye to Gymboree. A look at the other stores that the company plans to close after filing for bankruptcy. And traffic trouble on I-5 at the Grapevine. A storm swept through the area. Yeah, it always happens, John, every time.
Yeah, that was not fun watching the Grapevine close yesterday, guys. And we've got even more severe weather ahead of us. And here in the Bay Area, some heavy rainfall just around the corner. I'm tracking it in Storm Tracker 4.
And I'll let you know if any major hotspots or issues pop up during your morning commute. We're checking out the Bay Bridge where it's a little crowded in some of the cash lanes. I'll have a complete check after the break.
And thanks for joining us. I'm Daria Folsom.
And I'm James Fletcher. And that breaking news story that we're following this morning, an earthquake that happened just a handful of minutes ago, a 3.7 centered up near Piedmont. There have been a couple aftershocks. One was a 1.9, another a 2.0. All of this hitting right around 4:45 this morning. We are getting reports that some people did feel a little bit of shaking.
Julie felt it, and she's on the phone right now. Julie, where do you live?
In Burlingame.
Okay, so tell us what happened. What were you doing?
I was sleeping lightly, and then I felt it. I woke up, and my cat stood up, and I dragged her under the covers with me, and I put Kron on.
We'll protect you, Julie, between us and the cat. Yeah, they always say that cats know first, but you say that the cat jumped after you felt the shake.
She did, and then I put the Kron on. I thought maybe it didn't happen, but then luckily Robin mentioned for chair rolling, and I thought, okay, it wasn't a dream.
Yeah, but Julie, I was back in the makeup room, and I didn't feel a thing. You know, it just depends. I'm just glad it was a small one. Glad you're okay. Did it even a picture fall off the wall or anything?
No, fortunately, but then again, the way my place is, I wouldn't notice.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I mean, you're in Burlingame. That's quite a distance away from Piedmont, and you felt it. And I'm just looking at the USGS shake map where people, you know, dial in to report where they felt it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people as far south as San Jose. Even somebody in Santa Cruz felt apparently
Isn't
some
it
very light
weird?
shaking. So it's just kind of funny how sometimes earthquakes, which aren't very big, actually are felt from quite a ways away.
Right. It's the rain may be more of an issue for you today, Julie. We're going to get to the weather in a second, okay?
All right.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Julie.
Well, she's up now.
She is,
right?
yeah,
So
and
we may as
probably
well.
hearing outside a little pitter-patter of rain out on the roof and on the sidewalks. And that's probably going to be the big thing you need to focus on today.
And
on the Bay Bridge today, as I was driving over, I can't tell you how many times I had to keep correcting because my car kept getting buffeted by those winds. Did you feel that on the Golden Gate?
No, wasn't
Not as
that
bad?
windy, just rain. But it really hasn't ramped up as much as I thought it was going to. Is that still to come this morning?
Oh, yeah, it's still going to come this afternoon. Actually, as expected. This morning, a little bit on the lighter side of things, but as we work our way into the afternoon, that's when the system out there to our west is really going to make its presence known across the bay. So whether you're feeling an earthquake this morning or just those stronger winds, we definitely have a lot to be talking about. As for the Bay Area itself, we are looking at those lighter rains this morning. So we are starting the morning off with some relatively lighter conditions. Yesterday, remember at this time, the rainfall was really kicking into gear. We're going to take a break this morning. So at least for your morning commute, you are dealing with some wet roadways, obviously, from overnight showers, but with just a little bit of breezy conditions out there, you can at least breathe easy for the moment before that heaviest of rain sets in this afternoon. Just a few sprinkles up and down the peninsula, and we are going to be looking at continued scattered showers further to the north as well. Here's a look at some of that shower activity that's now worked its way up the I-80 corridor. You are looking at that from Napa on over to Fairfield and Vacaville as well. And Wake Up Planner is showing you that temperatures out there will be in the 50s throughout the course of your morning, but we are actually going to be looking at some low 60s into the afternoon today. So it's definitely going to be a comfortable one, at least looking at this map right here. But once you factor in those high winds, the heavy rain that we have this afternoon, then we are going to be looking at those conditions out there. Okay, so I guess we're going back to the earthquake now. Daria, James.
Yeah, thanks for putting the graphic up there. It was a 3.7, as you can see, that hit in Oakland. And we have another caller on the line who felt it.
David in Daly City joining us now via the telephone to tell us how he felt it this morning. Good morning, David.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Doing well. We had a light earthquake. Did you feel it in Daly City? I assume you did. Light, I would imagine?
Yes, I did. I hadn't been too long, got up, and I was just sitting watching, kind of scrolling through some news channels. And maybe about 30 or 45 seconds before the actual quake hit, I heard something on the side of my house. I thought maybe it was raccoons or cats or something running the side of the house. But then after that, it was a jolt, and it felt like someone just pushed my house to the side a little bit, and it rocked and then sort of settled down, and my dog jumped up and started running through the house and barking. And it was no doubt that was an earthquake.
Everybody says it was really quick. Did you just, like, you didn't even have time to react? It was over.
Exactly. It was just a big jolt. And But it was what I would call a soft earthquake. It wasn't a sharp jolt. It was just sort of soft, but it definitely made the entire house shift to one side and then back.
Any cracks in the wall or anything jiggle on the shelf?
No, the only thing I just heard sort of like the frame of the house crack on the inside, but there's no visible signs of any type of damage or anything like that, and nothing fell over.
Okay, that's good.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're going to go to Marie here in a second, another caller in a minute. But it's just kind of fascinating to hear his description. Felt more like a jolt.
Yeah.
And then we had, a caller coming in from Burlingame saying it was just a very light kind of roll.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating how the topography of the area, the terrain, the geology, and as an earthquake propagates around the Bay Area, some people will experience it in slightly different ways depending on the type of ground that they're on and how close they are to the epicenter.
And when you look at that area in particular, there's been a little bit of movement this morning. There were a couple other very small, kind of like we live on Earth and Earth moves quakes, like a 1.9 or something like that.
Yeah, there was a 1.9 and a 2.0, I think it was. I'll just double check that right now. Yeah, a 1.9 and a 2.0, all of them within just a couple of minutes of the initial earthquake.
Right, and there's really no way to predict, sorry folks, whether there'll be another couple or not. That's just the mystery that we have not solved yet at this point. No warning, this stuff just happens, and a lot of people were sleeping, a lot of people were in bed, so when you're that still, odds are you can feel it too. I think we do have another caller on the line.
Marie in Alameda, if I'm not mistaken. Marie, good morning.
Hello, hi.
Good morning.
You sound a little sleepy.
I am.
Yeah, were you sleeping when it hit?
Well, I was just dozing off again from waking up, and I heard grumbling on the ground. I got a little scared, and I felt it just underneath my leg.
You did?
I felt my bed move a little.
So we've had calls coming in from Burlingame and Daly City. You're probably, so far, the closest to the epicenter of the people that we've talked to. So describe what it felt like initially, how long it lasted. What was your experience?
It was just a quick few seconds, but I felt it right underneath my leg, so it scared me a little bit.
Yeah. Do you have what you're supposed to have, the earthquake kit and the whole thing. Do you have it?
I don't have a whole kit, but we have a family emergency bag in our car.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know how it goes. And some people, like you're talking to us, some people like to call friends. Did you feel it? Have you called anybody, or was it too early? You don't want to wake anybody up?
I actually called my boyfriend, and he was on his way to work to
you
CSA.
did?
And
did he feel it in the car?
I'm sorry?
Did he feel it in the car? A lot of times you don't.
No, he didn't. That's why I wanted to know if he was standing, and he was actually in the car.
Yeah.
How funny.
But I wanted to let you guys know. That's why I sent an email, because I want to let you know that I felt it in Alameda.
Appreciate it. And this is how the USGS works too.
Absolutely.
Is that they take people on the shake map.
So much.
All right, you get ready for work or whatever you need to do. Doze off again. It's hard to doze off again after you've been shaken, though.
So that was Marie in Alameda. Now joining us on the air is Al from Oakland. We'll get to him in half a second as we're trying to connect his phone call this morning. But it'd be interesting to see how he experienced it, because he's just not too far off from where Marie was in Alameda. So in just half a second, we'll get him on.
I'll tell you what, though, every single person, and we've talked to a half a dozen so far, said the same thing. Very fast.
Yes.
Very fast and light or soft, as one person said, kind of just a movement versus a slap in the face.
Yeah,
just kind of like moving a chair.
All right, so Al joining us now from Oakland. Al, thank you so much for calling in and helping us put together a picture now of how people have been feeling this all around the Bay. What did you feel this morning?
Yeah, like Daria there, I thought I was maybe hallucinating, because I just poured my first cup of coffee and sat down at my desk, and a couple of books fell over, and my cat jumped up, and
isn't it funny how our pets are a lot of times more in tune with this stuff than we are, and they're the ones that give us our first signs that something isn't quite right?
Yeah, it totally is. She looked straight up at the ceiling.
Huh.
How funny.
And as those books fell down, and I felt a noticeable shake for sure.
Yeah, and it was a quick one for you too. Most people said 1 to 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'd say probably a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
but definitely noticeable for sure.
Okay. Well, have another cup of coffee. I don't think you're going to be able to get back to sleep now.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you so much, Al. And here you're looking at the shake map. That's what the USGS puts out. Anytime we do have an earthquake, the star in the center shows you the epicenter. And then each of those tiles represents where the USGS has received a phone call from a lot of the earthquake watchers that are out there reporting not only where they are when they felt it, but how strongly they felt it, and all the coloring that you see there in the light lavender, the light blue, that all indicates very light shaking. So that's what people are reporting, and that's exactly what we're hearing from a lot of the people calling into our newsroom.
Do you, as we talk more about the earthquake, do you want to tell them now about there's no such thing as earthquake weather?
Oh, yes.
Do you want to? I mean, because we're just going to tell you right now.
Some people, yes. The storms that we have above ground have no way an impact on the tectonic shifting beneath our feet. And as John mentioned earlier, by the way, we should also put out that this was looks like on the Hayward Fault. And yes, a lot of the earthquakes that we do see in the East Bay do emanate from the from that fault.
Hey,
so.
what about the thing about the Earth is stretching, our legs are moving, or is that a good thing? You know, the release theory, like it's good to have little ones now and then.
I mean, I'd rather have a million of these small little light quakes to relieve the pressure than have it build up until one day, you know, things snap beneath your feet. So it's always good when we have these little pressure releases.
We've got another viewer on the line, and I believe it's Glenda. Glenda, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, where do you live, and what happened to you this morning?
I live on 51st Avenue in East Oakland. And actually, I was watching the news, and I was waiting for Robin to say we had an earthquake.
And she said it.
She didn't say anything, so I got on Facebook, and I was like, am I the only one that felt the earthquake?
No, Robin felt it too. I was right behind Robin, 6 feet away. I didn't feel it, but Robin felt it. She's got the super senses.
She is incredibly in tune to these.
I was waiting on her to say something like that. Am I crazy or what?
So did anything even, fall off of a shelf, or was it real quick and you're fine?
The house just shook. It just shook for a few seconds, and I got up and I waited, and then I sit back down.
And that was that. And you're going to just carry on. Are you a little rattled, or are you fine?
I drive the school bus, so I'm up getting ready to go to work.
Oh, wow. Very good.
And
very good.
You know what's funny, Glenda, is every time we do have an earthquake, I do exactly what Al's cat did. I look up. I look for the lights to see if there's anything swaying, just to confirm that I'm not going crazy.
I stood up and waited like I'm downstairs and like I'm going to get out of here if it shake again.
Right. But it was quick and that was it. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Luckily.
So thanks for getting the kids to school and for calling us this morning.
Okay, you guys have a good day.
Okay, you too.
All right, so, if you wait to see, is there going to be any more? We have had a couple aftershocks since. There was a 1.9 and a 2.0, which happened just in the last couple of minutes after the main quake. So far, nothing else reported. And then, of course, the question is this going to impact anything, especially a lot of our services in the area? Because they do have earthquake protocols that they go into.
Like, Rob, even when it's no big deal, they have to shut down BART and just check the tracks. Did they do that already?
They did. Yeah, they temporarily stopped service to inspect the tracks. They are still inspecting the tracks. So right now they're reporting delays up to 10 minutes, which is pretty minor, but it's system-wide. And, just a 10-minute delay can really throw off your commute or make you late to work. So you need to plan ahead. BART's reporting a 10-minute system-wide delay because of that earthquake. So no reports of any damage to the tracks or train as of yet. But they do this, as you said, as a safety precaution, just to make sure that everything is okay. They will start releasing the trains and things will get back to normal shortly. But if you're about to head out, you may want to leave a little early since there's this 10-minute delay. And once again, it is system-wide as they continue to do that routine track inspection after we have an earthquake. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Robin. And we'll have continuing coverage of the earthquake this morning, just to let you know that it happened. You're not crazy. Some people felt it. I did not. Others did not. But it seems that everybody's fine this morning, and it's just one of those wake-up calls, literally this morning, because most of you were sleeping.
Absolutely. And as we go, I think we also have a look at the shake map, too, just to remind everybody how far out this earthquake was felt from the epicenter. We've had people reporting in from as far away as Santa Cruz, actually, that they had some light shaking and called into the USGS just to report that. So again, this is all part of our ongoing coverage of the weather, the earthquakes beneath our feet, and also our day's headlines. And we'll get to all of that coming up in just a few minutes. Stay with us. The Kron4 Morning News will be right back.
From the Bay Area's local news station, we begin now with breaking news.
And breaking overnight, 2 people are dead, 9 others injured in a freeway crash that happened in San Francisco early this morning. That crash has closed all northbound lanes of Highway 101. Kron4's Sarah Stinson has been on the scene from just a horrific scene there, Sarah, and on Highway 101.
Good morning, Marty. That's right. All northbound lanes on 101 remain closed right now as they continue to investigate. You can see behind me, they're starting to tow yet another car because there's 5 cars involved, 11 people impacted. Just a horrific crash. CHP on scene has said they haven't seen a crash like this in a long time. Now take a look at this video from earlier so you can just get a good idea of just how many cars are involved on the scene here. 11 people in 5 different cars. We know that 9 were transported to the hospital with injuries, some very serious, and 2 people died on scene. Now, this crash happened at 2:30 in the morning when a driver in a VW GTI was driving southbound in the northbound lanes on 101 in San Francisco. The driver sideswiped 2 cars near the Vermont Street on-ramp. That's how the person got onto the freeway on the wrong way, in the wrong direction. The VW GTI just kept going and then hit an SUV head on. Now the wrong way driver was ejected from the car onto the northbound lanes and died on scene. Then 3 more cars tried to stop in time but collided and crashed into the original crash with the 2 cars. So that's how there's 5 cars total. Now another person has died here, but CHP hasn't said which car that person was in. As this is a very complex crash, they've been having to piece together all of these details for the last 5 hours. You can only imagine. That's why they've had to close all these lanes. Listen to CHP explain the traffic impact.
We have a hard closure for northbound right at Alameda. You're going to take the Alameda off, and there's an on-ramp right on the other side of the intersection to get right back on.
Now, I definitely suggest just put on your maps if you are heading from the South Bay to San Francisco. Just put in your maps and it will take you around this, or just follow the detour that they have you going on. Now, CHP does suspect that the wrong way driver who died on scene, they do suspect that that person was under the influence, just in terms of the time of the morning that it was, just after 2 a.m., which is when the bars close. CHP is trying to figure out if that is in fact the main factor here. But of course, they're going to have to wait until the coroner's report to confirm that. Marty, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
What a terrible, terrible scene. Sarah Stinson for us live at Highway 101 in San Francisco. Thanks a lot, Sarah. We'll see you in about 30 minutes with an update. In the meantime, we want to talk weather because that is the other big story of the day as we take this live look outside to the Embarcadero from our Embarcadero camera in San Francisco. Gray skies and wet pavement, and Dave Spar is here to tell us about another storm on the way.
Yeah, at least we're getting a break in the action in terms of the new rain happening over at least much of the bay. Not all of the bay, still getting rain in some areas. However, it will redevelop those, we said, around noon, and there's another patch that's actually more heavy or heavier that will develop by 11 tonight, it looks like. Here's Storm Tracker 4. The East Bay Peninsula and down to the South Bay is where most of the action is, but it is very scattered where you're ever getting it, as you see down to the South Bay, too. There's some patches of embedded moderate showers in there, but for the most part, it's very widely scattered. The higher elevations do tend to get singled out a little bit for heavier rains like that just because of topography. So into motion, you can see the general trend, everything coming in off the Pacific, a little bit of a trail upwards out here, particularly to the east in terms of moving north. Now we're watching systems coming from our northwest upstream. This will be into Monday and Tuesday, particularly because there'll be some much colder air with that, and that'll be quite interesting for us to get some mountain snows right in our backyard. We send you off to Yosemite. What a picture this is. Look at this. What does it look like? All the snow kind of hanging on the trees, too, with all of that. Beautiful pictures coming up from the mountains for now, but in our local mountains, we're like to get a little dusting of this as well, particularly we get to about Tuesday morning. Back on the home front, here's the Golden Gate Bridge. Looks like the sun wants to peer out a little bit off to the distance, just a touch there, at least some brightness happening. Don't expect too many clear patches like yesterday, though, not at all. This is going to stay pretty much mostly cloudy with that rain developing by noon. Temperatures lower to middle 50s around the bay, not much of a warm-up happening this afternoon. We'll call it cloudy with rain developing by 12. Okay, maybe a little sun wants to poke out there, but we have some wind with rain developing by 3. We're going to go ahead and time this all out for you, which lets you know what your Sunday is like and on into Monday as well. Marty.
Okay, Dave, thanks a lot. And as Dave mentioned, there's more rain for the Bay Area on the way. So some people in the East Bay spent Saturday afternoon preparing for the next storm. Kron4's Philippe Jagal was there.
The weather has like a direct impact on the business.
A positive impact, says Michael Stepp, who says Moraga Hardware and Lumber is supplying a steady stream of customers gearing up for a soggy stretch of weather.
We have our end cap set up here with rain gear, jackets and boots and everything, ponchos.
Property protection products also selling fast.
Gutter accessories, water damming things to block the water coming into the house. Expands basically like sandbags.
Do they work just as well, or?
They do work pretty well, actually. They have this gel material in them that expands when it hits the water.
I just need 3. John Chicados prefers traditional sandbags. He lives in Orinda, but rushed to Rancho Laguna Park in Moraga Friday to pack as much free sand as possible offered by the town of Moraga. The rain concerns him, the wind even more.
The trees come down, especially around the golf course. There's no way to predict where they're going to come down or how they're going to come down. My next door neighbor had one just go down, and he's a minister, and I think he had a way with the Lord because the tree fell right in his backyard. Couldn't have been placed any better, but still it cost him $7,000 to get it out.
By the time Saturday morning rolled around, all of the sand at the park was gone. Walnut Creek homeowners who live in low-lying areas blocking garages and driveways from potential flooding. In Livermore, the Public Works Department focusing its attention on waterways that sometimes rise quickly during storm events, in part because of a buildup of trash. Public Works says it's installed trash capture devices on a creek at South Front Road, an effort it expects will reduce the amount of trash loading into creeks by nearly 40%, and more devices like these are expected to be placed throughout the city.
Bay residents be advised, extreme weather predicted this evening.
In the North Bay, the Southern Marin Fire District warning boaters the water is not safe and to stay out through the storms. Philippe Jagal, Kron4 News.
And remember, you can stay connected on the latest changes in the weather in your neighborhood with the Kron4 mobile app. You'll find full forecasts and interactive radar as well. You can also get push alerts on Bay Area storms. You can get it all for free with the Kron4 mobile app. Still ahead this morning, we're going to take a look at the pride of San Mateo through the eyes of the man who knows him best, his dad. We have the Tom Brady story coming up. And while it's raining here, we're seeing a lot of snow in the Sierra. We're going to take a look at the hazardous road conditions up there. We'll be right back.
The Bay Area's local news station. We begin now with breaking news.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on this wet and dangerously wet in terms of flooding and everything else on the roads this morning in the Bay Area. I'm Daria Folsom.
And I'm James Fletcher. What you're looking at on the screen here are some water rescues that happened in the North Bay where crews in Sonoma County had to work through the early late night hours and early morning hours to try and keep people safe from flooding in certain areas, and that's prompted some evacuations. So we've got the radar, too, as more rain continues to come in. Let's take a look at that. We've got team coverage of this, by the way, and you can see the large swath of wet weather around the Bay. Actually, the North Bay catching a bit of a break at the moment, but the East Bay, the Peninsula, the South Bay, everybody getting hammered. And we've got our reporters out there as well, where we have the weather impacts the strongest, and we'll be visiting with all of that.
All right, but first, let's go to the Weather Center and John Trable.
Yeah, and guys, what we are looking at this morning is fortunately a break for our North Bay areas, but for the rest of us, still some showers holding on this morning. The Golden Gate Bridge is certainly wet after last night's heavy rainfall. Strong winds throughout the course of the evening, too. You're seeing some of the heaviest of rain sitting across the East Bay, especially in Contra Costa, and then up into Solano counties, while fortunately Napa, Marin, and Sonoma counties have all dried out, but only temporarily. We will have rain up there later on today. Fairfield over east on 12, you are looking at some areas of heavier isolated showers, and those showers do continue across the peninsula Peninsula, East Bay, and South Bay, so you're waking up to some wet conditions as you're heading into work this morning. This is what we've got going on today. You're noticing rainfall not quite as widespread and not nearly as much yellow or orange on the map, but still some embedded spots where rainfall will be heavier as we do make our way through the day today. You're going to look at a midday break before showers push back in early afternoon, and those showers do include the North Bay, so some additional rainfall making its way into waterways that are certainly already swollen with so much water up there. And James will actually have an update for you in just here in a moment, talking about where those river levels are at this morning. And it should be no surprise that they are very high because we saw a lot of rainfall for the North Bay. Look at Venado. This is just to the northwest of Santa Rosa. 20 plus inches of rainfall over the past 48 hours. Yountville not far behind at around 12 inches. Guerneville around 9. Santa Rosa around 9 as well. You said a one-day precipitation total record yesterday, the rainiest day in Santa Rosa history. St. Helena also just about 7.5 inches of rain. And Inverness not far behind that. Point Reyes was closed yesterday around Inverness because of all that flooding from all of this rain making its way onto roadways. Winds are still a factor, certainly. High wind advisories are still in effect, actually extended through the evening last night. They were set to expire at 3 a.m., now at 6 a.m. later this morning. Some 40s and 50s for current temperatures, and later on today, really the nicest thing about your forecast is the fact that we will be boosting into the low 60s. Low 60s expected for your daytime highs for the coast, the bay, and inland areas. I've got more in your forecast still to come. Robin, how is all this rain affecting traffic this morning?
Actually, before we get to Robin, let me do a quick little update on some of the river levels that John was talking about just a moment ago. Again, let's take a look first at the Russian River up near Guerneville, and you can see there is a flood warning in effect right now with major flooding expected. So that's going to be the big worry going forward for a lot of the folks that have had to leave a lot of those low-lying areas along the Russian River. The forecast is for it to rise to 46 feet. Flood stage is at 32. So the expected river level, the maximum height, is going to be well above flood stage. We're already past it. Current levels right now coming in at 39.6. In fact, I just checked some of the latest numbers. We'll have to update this for you because it just hit 40. So we're on our way to 46, and that's going to spell a lot of problems, again, for a lot of folks who live in those lower-lying areas right along the Russian River. Also keeping an eye on the Napa River, and you can see a flood warning in effect there as well as it moves through downtown Napa. They have that diversion area. Let's hope that that does the job and keeps a lot of the downtown area safe. The forecast is for it to rise up to 27.5 feet, which is well above the flood stage at 25. And again, we've just surpassed that. So a lot of the emergency personnel there closely monitoring that river level. We're going to see where it goes. But again, the anticipated maximum height is for 27.5 feet. So a lot of eyes on the North Bay right now as we continue to follow those rising water levels. And don't forget, too, once the rain stops, that doesn't mean the rivers stop rising. You have all the runoff from the hills, and that's going to continue to lift those river heights. So we're going to be watching this very carefully going forward over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now to Robin with more on the traffic. Hey, Robin.
Hey there. We're also monitoring Highway 37. It has flooded once again. This has been a major story for the last week or so. Last week, they shut it down only in the westbound direction. Today, we're dealing with a closure on both sides. East and West 37 in Novato shut down Atherton Avenue to 101. Your alternate is Atherton Avenue to 101, the long way around, or 116 if you're closer to that and want to use that as an option. We do have Will Tran on the scene updating us. Richmond Santa Fe Bridge quiet under a high wind advisory, and this morning big rigs are not allowed on 580 because it's just too dangerous. And in the past, we've seen trucks flipped over on the bridge there, so we do understand why. 8 minutes here from the tolls to 101. The Bay Bridge, the busiest bridge, and it's already stacked up beyond 880. You can see that rain coming down, so you'll need the headlights, the wipers, and of course, drive at a reduced speed. Windy here too. We'll check in on more bridges and slowdowns coming up. James?
All right, thank you very much, Robin. Now to the breaking news that we're following again, the rivers. The Sonoma County Sheriff's Office says that Guerneville is landlocked right now, so you can't get into or out of town, which is a dangerous situation. Evacuations are underway as the Russian River continues to flood. And here's some of the latest video showing what this water looks like. A lot of the main roads are impassable right now. The grocery store downtown was packed yesterday. As you can imagine, people are preparing for what could be the worst flooding that Guerneville's seen since 1995.
But now this is the river coming up now. Before it was just a creek in the back. And now it's going to get pretty high this time.
Yeah, there's a free shuttle right now running from the War Memorial to take people to shelters outside of town. And we've got more information about all the road closures, the school closures, running across the crawl at the bottom of the screen. So make sure you keep an eye on that. And of course, we'll keep you updated on our website at Kron4.com.
And also in the North Bay, it didn't even have time to barely dry out, and Highway 37 is closed again.
Kron4's Will Tran back out there in Novato with the closure. Will?
It's even worse than last week. I'm just shaking my head because they tried desperately to avoid another shutdown, but the rain was so heavy that they were just overpowered by Mother Nature. Let me step out of the way. You can see the signs behind me. The flares. This is northbound 101 to eastbound 37, and you can clearly see fresh flares on the roadway. The signs clearly telling people it is not available to you. Now, I just noticed this on the other side of the freeway. Yes, you see a lot of headlights, but you might be able to make out some flashing. Of course, they're shutting down the entrance in that direction for those who are heading southbound 101, hoping to get to Vallejo. So that is not available to you as well because of the flooding. Last week, at least you had one direction of eastbound available to you, but not this time. And as you can see, James, Daria, they have a Caltrans truck. If the signs and the flares don't warn you, this big old truck with the arrows pointing back to the freeway should give you the message that it is not available to you. Not exactly sure when both directions will be shut down. My buddy Robin Winston will tell you how to get around all of this, but they tried so desperately to avoid this, but here we are again. So take it easy out there, plan accordingly. It is not raining right now. The ground is starting to dry out, but I got to give a service announcement, guys. Driving up here, I went by Lucky Drive, and I gotta tell you, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I thought this might be my last morning live shot because it is still puddling in that area despite no rainfall. And so be careful if you're heading northbound through Lucky Drive.
Well, so that's northbound, Will, on 101 in Marin, and the southbound direction through southern Marin on 101, they actually closed down a lane, took a lane away from traffic purposely to slow everybody down because there's so many accidents like heading into the tunnel there.
And like Will said, just because it may not be actively raining, you think, oh, I'm safe, and then you hit that deep water at Lucky Drive and other spots as well. So keep it slow, be careful. We talked about the Russian River up in Guerneville. Also have some video too to share with you of the Napa River, also expected to flood today. And we saw the graphic earlier that I was talking about. The city officials there are urging residents right now to monitor weather conditions for their own safety.
Kron4's Yoli Aceves is live there with what residents are waking up to right now. Yoli.
Yeah, Daria, I'm in Yountville, and actually I'm on Yount Street, and all throughout Yountville, like I've driven around here a little bit, you see roads, you see signs like this saying road closed, or it will say flooding or prone to flooding. Now this road, this is on Yount Street, it's only maybe about less than a mile away from the Napa River. You know, it is a sigh of relief, I think, that we have a little break in the rain because this has been able to recede a little bit. You only have a little bit of water off onto the side of the roads. I did kind of drive down it a little just to see where the water did finally come up. So at the moment it receded. You could drive through this part of the road a little, but I didn't go all the way through. You know, it is very close and does cross us towards the Napa River. So it is expected to flood on this road. Since you have a big sign like this, you know there must have been water previously, but it has receded a little bit. Yeah, people are probably nervous. As people wake up, I'll try to talk to them and see how they feel about all of this or whether they're going to leave. But it is expected to flood and crest over like around 6 this morning. So I'll just be sitting tight and checking out the scene here and trying to give you the latest update here in Yountville. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Yoli.
Well, several people had to be rescued from the floodwaters in the North Bay during Tuesday's storm. And here is what it was. Crews were out in the rain and the cold from the early hours of the morning well into the night. Firefighters saying they got 6 rescue calls Tuesday morning alone. Several rescue crew members went into the water in West Santa Rosa for reports of stranded drivers that were in deep water near Sanford Road, but no drivers were found. Now, while searching there, they got another call of stranded drivers near Green Valley Road, and that's where police say a driver ignored flooding signs and barricades and tried to wade through the high water and got himself stranded. they were successfully able to rescue that person.
The cleanup also begins for downed trees. Yesterday, a big tree toppled onto a car and some power lines, too, it took down. This happened 30 feet away from the landslide that trapped people in Monterey. Yeah, look at the huge tree. That's the Bohemian Highway, so it's closed indefinitely now. The mudslide blocked people from getting out of the area, too. Look at it just gushing down there, running down the hill. People had to leave their cars, and they were rescued by Monterey firefighters. Now let's take a live look at what's going on in the Sierra, because we've got rain and they've got snow. 80 in both directions is closed. This is a live look at 80 at Soda Springs, and you can see why. They haven't had a chance to dig out, and we will keep you posted on the Sierra and when it would be best to head up there. John was saying yesterday you should probably wait until Thursday, Friday.
I would expect so.
Which is great, because
is that
then
a set
you
of
can
headlights? Crazy people.
Maybe.
Hopefully
maybe
it's a Caltrans plow.
Yeah, because I did hear early this morning they decided to stop traffic in both directions. Don't forget, you can get all the very latest as these situations are changing all the time from our Kron4 mobile app. You can download that. It's free. 5:12 is the time right now, and we will continue our team coverage of the storms all morning long. So use the mobile app, too, to send us pictures, John.
Absolutely. Want to see those pictures of where you're at, what the flooding is looking like in your neck of the woods, especially for those in the North Bay where that flooding and those floodwaters continue to rise. Still showers out there this morning. I'm tracking them throughout the course of your day. All still to come.
And I'm tracking the high wind advisories in place for Bay Area bridges. I'm tracking the closure of Highway 37, and your drive time's pretty busy at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, already stacked up beyond 880. I'll check more after the break.
Show me the crown. Show me homecoming. Baby sloth videos on YouTube.
Amy, do you mind giving someone else a turn?
Oh, yeah, I've made myself a little comfortable here.
I got a pizza for Amy.
Yes, that's me.
Xfinity lets you search Netflix, Prime Video, and YouTube with the sound of your voice.
And I don't have my wallet, so...
That's simple, easy, awesome. Experience the entertainment you love on X1. Access Netflix, Prime Video, YouTube, and more, all with the sound of your voice. Click, call, or visit a store today.
Show your gut some love. Only Activia has billions of our live and active probiotics, a delicious way to enjoy probiotics every day with 20 years of devotion to gut health. Activia, like no other.
Sarah's last tuition payment sent off. Feeling good?
Oh, yeah. Now I'm ready to focus on my project.
This is why we plan. You never cease to amaze me, Maya.
See how investing with a JP Morgan advisor can help you. Visit your local Chase branch.
Waves aren't the only thing I surf. I surf the air. I surf roads, lanes, and alleys. Drop in on mountainsides and carve through valleys. I surf the ocean. I surf adventure. I surf it all.
During the President's Day sales event, get 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,000 bonus cash on all 2019 Jeep Cherokee models.
All Tyson Anytizers chicken is raised with no antibiotics ever. They're a great decision for snack time. Allowing the band to practice at your house? Not a great decision. Keep it real. Keep it Tyson Anytizers.
Porcelanosa. Stylish design. Porcelanosa. Experience luxury. Porcelanosa. Unparalleled innovation. Porcelanosa. Large selection. Porcelanosa. Inspiration. For ultimate in tile, kitchen, bath, and hardwood design, Porcelanosa. Visit one of our showrooms today.
Welcome back, everyone. 5:15 on this rainy Wednesday morning. You can see the rainfall still hanging out across the Berkeley foothills. This view was clearer moments ago. Now not so much, as rainfall has picked up out in the East Bay, especially as compared to yesterday. So we've switched areas that had been seeing rain with those that hadn't been seeing it yesterday. The North Bay, which was the big winners as far as yesterday's rainfall goes, actually looking at some dry conditions this morning, and about the only ones to be looking at dry conditions on the peninsula Peninsula, South Bay, East Bay, and on over into Solano County. All these areas looking at some moderate to light shower activity to kick things off for your Wednesday. Driving down 101 or 280, you are looking at off and on showers all the way down to San Jose and up the peninsula. Same for you in the East Bay. It's very uniform with the exception of the North Bay taking a bit of a break, a breather, which is much needed. We are seeing flood warnings along the Russian River, the Napa River, and then flood advisories remaining in effect all across the remainder of the North Bay in green right there. And you've also seen high wind advisories extended. They were set to expire this morning at 3 a.m. and now in effect until 6 a.m. this morning. So showers will continue, especially for the East Bay and South Bay into the latter part of the commute this morning. We'll take a break from the rainfall in the middle of the day right around lunchtime, and then it works its way back into the forecast for the early afternoon. And you will see some additional showers up in the North Bay, which is certainly not the best of news. Don't want to see any more rain up there, but areas like Santa Rosa can expect around just under another quarter of an inch of rainfall on top of the around 8 inches of rain you've already seen. Half Moon Bay and Hayward, a 7/100 of an inch, while Livermore, another quarter of an inch expected as well. Let's break down what we're seeing later today. First of all, daytime highs peaking in the low 60s, if not upper 50s for some areas. So one of our warmer days of your forecast. After today, skies will clear out, temperatures will cool just a touch. Thursday and Friday, your best days for any travels or stepping outside. Come Saturday, our heaviest of rainfall ahead in the forecast. Sunday, a chance of it as well. Before Monday, drying back out. Robin?
All right, busy and windy on our bridges this morning. We have a high wind advisory for the Bay Bridge, San Mateo, Golden Gate, Dumbarton Bridge as well. So please reduce your speed out there. Motorcyclists, big rig drivers, those of you driving vans, no big problems here on 92 leaving Hayward right now, but it's pretty quiet. We like what we see so far. You're at 13 minutes and growing to the peninsula, but because it's raining, because we've had so many problems in the last 24 hours, it's always a good idea to leave early or hop on mass transit. Take advantage of that. You don't have to deal with the wet roads. Richmond Santa Fe Bridge, windy too, and keep in mind that big rigs are not allowed on the Richmond Santa Fe Bridge this morning because of the windy conditions. So 8 minutes to the North Bay. We're looking at Traffic Tracker, and I don't have any major hotspots or major accidents to report. If you take the East Shore Freeway, we've had a couple of minor incidents in Berkeley and Albany. Those crashes still wrapping up. But the overall drive time is fine. 21 minutes from Crockett to the Maze. 24 is wide open. 580 looks good, and so does the Nimitz. I'll check more freeways and drive times coming up. James?
All right, thank you very much, Robin. Oakland teachers will be back on the picket lines once again today. That strike now in its 5th day. And at this point, the two sides are reportedly, again, no closer to reaching a deal than they were before. The teachers union accusing the district again of mounting a disinformation campaign as this strike continues. The district says it agrees the teachers are undervalued. Yes, they do deserve more pay, but they say the teachers union's proposal is financially, well, it's just irresponsible for the district to just take as it's written. President Donald Trump is having his second face-to-face meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. We have new video of the president and Kim Jong-un shaking hands here before the summit. The two leaders met in Singapore last summer, of course, and they're expected to build upon that agreement that they worked out, moving closer towards a complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. President Trump thinks North Korea would thrive if it would denuclearize.
But I thought the first summit was a great success, and I think this one hopefully will be equal or greater than the first. And we made a lot of progress, and I think the biggest progress was our relationship is really a good one.
The leaders will sit down again for formal meetings on Thursday.
A big story this morning. President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is going to testify on Capitol Hill in an explosive day in D.C. According to the stunning testimony released ahead of time, Michael Cohen is calling President Trump a racist, a con man, and a cheat. After testifying behind closed doors this morning, Cohen will talk publicly and under oath, answering questions about the president's business, family, and money.
I really appreciate the opportunity that was given to me to clear the record and to tell the truth, to being able to, in my voice, to tell the American people my story, and I'm going to let the American people decide exactly who's telling the truth.
This public hearing starts at 7 o'clock this morning, our time, and it gives Cohen a chance to tell his side of the story before reporting to prison in May for his 3-year sentence for pleading guilty to tax crimes, campaign finance violations, and lying to Congress in previous testimony. 5:20 right now, and as we continue the Kron4 Morning News Storm Edition, we've got you covered with team coverage of all the weather and traffic that you need on this very wet morning where there are evacuations, there are watches on the rivers that are rising, causing a lot of concern, and the highways. Your drive is probably going to be a mess. We'll be back with all the information you need in just a few minutes. 8:29 is the time, and there is a scam, and the rich and famous are caught up in it. Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, some of the names now of people being charged in this massive college bribery scam.
Yeah, all to get their kids into prestigious colleges that perhaps maybe they couldn't have gone into otherwise with their own test scores and things like that. So the court records, as we're seeing, show that the actresses and others allegedly paid hefty bribes, as much as $6 million in total, to get their kids into various schools. We're talking places like Yale, Stanford, Georgetown, USC. The charges include conspiracy to commit mail fraud. We also have reporting this morning that the Felicity Huffman has been arrested and is currently in custody. The alleged scam was reportedly unearthed after authorities found a California businessman who ran this whole operation underground to help students get into the colleges of their choice.
And how they would get in is they had a ring where you pay a certain amount and then your kid gets one of those flags on their admission.
Yes.
Like, let's say they're a football player, a basketball player. Those get flagged and they get to come in because they're with the team. And their kids didn't play these sports, but they got flagged.
So that means there are some college coaches that are part of this scheme that agreed to flag these. That's what this businessman's
admissions
scheme
counselors
was.
too, right?
He would
right.
have connections with coaches, administrators,
Right.
even test takers, proctors for the SAT.
And
that would
either rig with the results that these kids got,
Right.
like they were the rich and famous kids that weren't quite up to the standards, so
Right.
they would bump up their scores. Or in some cases, there was a deal where they would bribe and send somebody else in to take the test, for the kid.
them. Yeah. So this is pretty wide-ranging, pretty damning, too,
Yeah.
for the people that have been indicted. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out of this investigation. But the FBI this morning making it known that there was this bribery scheme, admission scheme going on.
It's been going on
and
for
that
years.
high-profile people
Yeah.
now getting caught up in it.
8:31 is the time right now, and let's take a look at the weather on this Tuesday morning, Dave.
Okay, good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. And off to a pretty good start. Golden Gate Bridge noting a few little scattered clouds going on here, but at least a pretty much of a mostly clear note for now. That's going to change a little bit as this front drops south. And the temperatures have been supported in this piece of real estate here with the lower 50s for San Francisco and down the peninsula a little bit. Everybody else pretty much in 40s territory. Napa is still recalcitrant there at 38. It's the cool spot, 40 meanwhile for Livermore. And the winds, you can see they're pretty contained to the portions of the North Bay and also the peninsula, not venturing elsewhere throughout the bay yet. Got 56 at high noon. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Dave. Want to go to breaking news right now. We were just talking about that college entrance exam, the bribery scheme that was going on. They're having a press conference right now. Let's take a listen in.
When, in fact, the applicants were not. As the coaches knew, the students' athletic credentials had been fabricated. Overall, today, we have charged 3 people who organized these scams, 2 SAT or ACT exam administrators, 1 exam proctor, 1 college administrator, 9 coaches at elite schools, and 33 parents who paid enormous sums to guarantee their children's admission to certain schools through the use of bribes and fake academic and athletic credentials. A central defendant in the scheme, William Singer, will plead guilty today to charges of racketeering conspiracy, money laundering conspiracy, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and obstruction of justice. Singer allegedly ran a college counseling service and something called the Key Worldwide Foundation. Between roughly 2011 and 2018, wealthy parents paid Singer about $25 million in total to guarantee their children's admission to elite schools, including Yale, Georgetown, Stanford, the University of Southern California, the University of Texas, UCLA, and Wake Forest. Beyond enriching himself, Singer used that money to bribe college officials, Division I coaches, college exam administrators, all to secure admission for the children of his clients, not on their merits, but through fraud. Singer's foundation purported to be a charitable organization, but was actually a front Singer used to launder the money that parents paid him, of which he would then take a portion and dole it out as bribes to coaches and others. More specifically, with respect to the SAT and ACT scheme, numerous parents paid Singer between $15,000 and $75,000 to have someone either take the exam for their child or to correct their child's answers afterward, all to achieve a sufficiently high pre-agreed score on those tests. Singer accomplished this by paying defendant Mark Riddell, also charged today, to take or correct the exams, and by bribing two exam administrators, defendants Nikki Williams and Igor Dvorsky, to allow this to happen on their watch. Singer paid Williams about $5,000 per student and Dvorsky about $10,000 per student. To facilitate the scam, Singer counseled parents to take their children to a therapist and get a letter saying that because of purported learning disabilities or other issues, the child needed additional time to complete the ACT or the SAT. Once the companies that administer those exams had agreed to the extra time, Singer arranged for the child to take the exam individually with one of the proctors he had bribed, or one of the administrators he had bribed, either at a location in Houston or a location in California. Beyond the SAT and ACT scam, parents also paid Singer money that he then used to bribe coaches and administrators to designate their children as recruited athletes for various schools. In return for bribes, coaches would use slots that their schools had allocated to them for the recruitment of athletes, instead to take the applicants Singer had identified. Singer worked with the parents to fabricate impressive athletic profiles for their kids, including fake athletic credentials or honors, or fake participation in elite club teams. In many instances, Singer helped parents take staged photographs of their children engaged in particular sports. Other times, Singer and his associates used stock photos that they pulled off the internet, sometimes photoshopping the face of the child onto the picture of the athlete and submitting it in support of the applications for these children to elite schools. In one example, the head women's soccer coach at Yale, in exchange for $400,000, accepted an applicant as a recruit for the Yale women's team, despite knowing that the applicant did not even play competitive soccer. The student was in fact admitted, and afterward, the student's family paid Singer $1.2 million for that service. In addition to the standardized test scam and the college admissions scam, Singer also arranged for someone to take online high school classes in place of certain students, so that those students could submit higher grades as part of their overall college application packages. The parents' payments to Singer for these services were made, at least in part, as charitable contributions to the sham charity that Singer had set up. At his direction, employees of the charity sent Singer's clients acknowledgement letters, falsely confirming that no goods or services had been exchanged for the purported donation. This enabled the parents to not only mask the true nature of the payment, but also take the tax write-off at the end of the year. Today, we have charged 33 parents nationwide with hiring Singer's group to defraud testing companies and/or various universities. These parents are a catalog of wealth and privilege. They include, for example, CEOs of private and public companies, successful securities and real estate investors, two well-known actresses, a famous fashion designer, and the co-chairman of a global law firm. Based on the charges unsealed today, all of them knowingly conspired with Singer and others to help their children either cheat on the SAT or ACT and/or buy their children's admission to elite schools through fraud. Singer's clients paid him anywhere between $100,000 and $6.5 million for this service, though the majority paid between $250,000 and $400,000 per student. This case is about the widening corruption of elite college admissions through the steady application of wealth combined with fraud. There can be no separate college admissions system for the wealthy, and I'll add that there will not be a separate criminal justice system either. Every year, hundreds of thousands of hardworking, talented students strive for admission to elite schools. As every parent knows, these students work harder and harder every year in a system that appears to grow more and more competitive every year. And that system is a zero-sum game. For every student admitted through fraud, an honest, genuinely talented student was rejected. The parents charged today, despite already being able to give their children every legitimate advantage in the college admissions game, instead chose to corrupt and illegally manipulate the system for their benefit. We're not talking about donating a building so that a school's more likely to take your son or daughter. We're talking about deception and fraud, fake test scores, fake athletic credentials, fake photographs, bribed college officials. As you can see from the various charging documents unsealed today in this case, the investigation was complex and extremely labor-intensive. 2 defendants will plead guilty this afternoon. As I mentioned before, William Singer will plead guilty at 2:30 today in this courthouse. And John Vandemore, who is the head sailing coach at Stanford University, will also plead guilty today at 3 p.m. I want to thank the 4 prosecutors in my office who were assigned to this investigation for their extraordinary work on this case. The lead prosecutor on this matter, Eric Rosen, is up here with me today. I also want to thank the FBI and the IRS for their usual professionalism and skill in the investigation and takedown of this case. The takedown today involved over 200 federal agents nationwide who arrested 50 people in 6 states and on both coasts. With that, I'll hand things over to Joe Bonavolonta, who is the special agent in charge of the Boston office of the FBI. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Once again, my name is Joe Bonavolonta, and I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI Boston Division. Operation Varsity Blues culminated early this morning when approximately 300 special agents from the FBI and the IRS criminal investigations set out to arrest 46 individuals across the country for their roles in an international college admissions bribery and money laundering scam. So far, 38 individuals have been safely taken into custody, and 7 are working towards surrender. 1 is being actively pursued. Another 4 are expected to plead guilty here in Boston, 2 later today, and 2 in the coming weeks. We believe all of them, parents, coaches, and facilitators, lied, cheated, and covered up their crimes at the expense of hardworking students and taxpayers everywhere. Our investigation began last May after we uncovered evidence of a large-scale, elaborate fraud while working an unrelated undercover operation. Following 10 months of intense investigative efforts using a variety of sophisticated techniques, the FBI uncovered what we believe is a rigged system, robbing students all over the country of their right at a fair shot to getting into some of the most elite universities in this country, such as Yale, Stanford, and Georgetown. We believe everyone charged here today had a role in fostering a culture of corruption and greed that created an uneven playing field for students trying to get into these schools the right way through hard work, good grades, and community service. Unfortunately, what many students didn't know was that the odds had already been stacked against them by corrupt practices, including but not limited to bribery, falsification of athletic profiles, and near-perfect SAT and ACT scores that were fraudulently obtained on behalf of other students, when in reality they were far from perfect. Make no mistake, this is not a case where parents were acting in the best interests of their children. This is a case where they flaunted their wealth, sparing no expense, to cheat the system so they could set their children up for success with the best education money could buy, literally. Some spent anywhere from $200,000 to $6.5 million for guaranteed admission. Their actions were, without a doubt, insidious, selfish, and shameful. And the real victims in this case are the hardworking students who did everything they could to set themselves up for success in the college admissions process, but ended up being shut out because far less qualified students and their families simply bought their way in. What's also cause for concern is how this was even allowed to happen in the first place. Evidence we've obtained shows that trusted coaches and administrators manipulated the systems their universities had in place to accommodate students with fake athletic credentials, some of whom did not even play the sports they were recruited to play. It's a sham that strikes at the core of the college admissions process at universities across the country. And the alleged mastermind behind it, Rick Singer, offered a variety of cheating options as part of a widespread conspiracy to enrich himself, while also facilitating cheating on SAT and ACT exams, recruiting applicants onto competitive athletic teams in exchange for bribes, and concealing the nature and source of those bribes. There's no telling what their school of thought was while carrying out this conspiracy, but today's arrests should be a warning to others. You can't pay to play, you can't lie and cheat to get ahead, because you will get caught. This was a complex and demanding investigation, and it was charged accordingly. The use of the RICO statute signals the magnitude of the criminal enterprise and the seriousness of the crimes. I would like to personally recognize the investigators and prosecutors who pursued this case. However, our work is not done. Our investigation continues, and we will continue to find and stop those who aren't playing by the rules, because as you can see in this case, the impact on everyday people is real, has consequences, and broad-ranging effect. My sincerest appreciation for the tremendous work done by the United States Attorney and his team, as well as my thanks to Special Agent in Charge Christina O'Connell and her folks at the IRS Criminal Investigation for their continued partnership and support. This was truly a team effort. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling and FBI Special Agent in Charge Joseph Bonavolenta for the opportunity to address you here today. Again, my name is Christina O'Connell. I'm the Special Agent in Charge of the IRS Criminal Division of the Boston Field Office. This morning, special agents from IRS Criminal Investigation, alongside the FBI, arrested dozens of individuals for their role in a nationwide scheme to exchange bribes for college admissions. At the center of this sweeping financial crime is William Rick Singer. Singer and the others arrested today conspired to not only make and receive bribes, but to also funnel those bribe payments through a bogus charity founded by Singer. Utilizing this charitable business facade, Singer was able to conceal the true source and nature of the bribe payments. Then, to further the false legitimacy, Singer advised parents making the bribes that they could deduct the illicit payments as charitable donations on their own individual income tax returns. Overall, IRS Criminal Investigation and the FBI traced over $25 million in bribes laundered through this alleged charity founded by Singer. Overall, our investigators also revealed that the true objective of those involved was not charity at all, but greed. IRS Criminal Investigation will continue to collaborate with our law enforcement partners in the United States Attorney's Office on these complex financial investigations to ensure that the honest American taxpayers receive the message that IRS Criminal Investigation will never let financial corruption and greed trump hard work and honest effort. Thank you.
Questions?
How did Boston become the lead office to prosecute this case?
Well, it appears to be a conspiracy nationwide in scope. There are several connections to the Boston area. So fake test scores, for example, were submitted to Boston College, Boston University, and Northeastern. Two of the defendants live in the state. A lot of the conspiratorial activity, phone calls, meetings, did happen here. And we, frankly, had the resources and the sophistication to take down a case of this magnitude.
Do you have any idea how many students were able to make it into these schools over the years?
We don't know the total number. As Special Agent in Charge Bonavolenta mentioned, this is still ongoing. So the 33 parents who we have charged, their children were able to get in somewhere. There are more than that, but I'm not prepared to give you a total.
Is there anything that's going to happen to those students? Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Is there anything that's going to happen to those students who got in fraudulently?
Well, there are two aspects to that question, right? There is, what is the reaction of the schools they go to? We leave that to the schools. That's not my bailiwick. As to charges against them, we're still considering that. It's not an accident that there are no students charged in these charging documents. The parents, the other defendants, are clearly the prime movers of this fraud. It remains to be seen whether we charge any of the students.
What degree were students? What degree did the students graduate? You know, in percentage of how many students that actually got in fraudulently went on to graduate, get degrees?
I don't know the answer to that question.
How active were the students?
Parents very popular.
I'm sorry?
Obviously, there's two parents particularly popular, both in Hoffman and Warren Lawson. It sounds like they took two different routes. Can you go into a little bit more detail what each of those churches are doing?
Well, there are essentially, I'll speak more broadly. There were essentially two kinds of fraud that Singer was selling. One was to cheat on the SAT or ACT, and the other was to use his connections with Division I coaches and use bribes to get these parents' kids into school with fake athletic credentials. Some parents took advantage of one. I think Ms. Huffman, for example, took advantage of one of these, which was the SAT cheating scam.
And he was just talking about Ms. Huffman. That's Felicity Huffman, who's married to William H. Macy, two big Hollywood stars that have two daughters. Right. And the FBI is saying that she was part of this scam to get her daughter into college.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see. Those two plus 46 other people indicted in this wide-ranging investigation conducted by the FBI and other federal agencies, too, because we're talking about potential tax fraud now. So the IRS is involved. This is going to be unfolding for quite a little while.
We'll have more on this and all the rest of the developing news in just a few minutes. Be right back.
From the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching the Kron4 Morning News at 5.
Well, here we are once again, the rain back in play. Storm Tracker 4, the live view here shows you we've got a lot of wet weather hitting the peninsula right now, beginning to move into the North Bay, and this is just the beginning because it's going to get a lot more intense here going forward, as we've been told.
And yet it's getting old.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're done with it already.
So let's take a look at when the heavy stuff is going to hit, John.
Guys, the rainfall that we're looking at this morning is definitely making a scene on your radar, but the heaviest is definitely actually going to be on into tomorrow. So this is by no means a storm we're only looking at through the course of the day today. It is dry for parts of the Bay Area right now. Take a look at this. Golden Gate Bridge looking pretty inviting at the moment. Clearer than yesterday was, and we didn't have anything going on the radar yesterday. It was just some scattered areas of coastal drizzle. This morning is much the opposite. Some pockets of heavier rainfall hanging out offshore, and it does look like the bullseye of this storm is going to be the Santa Cruz Mountains down through Santa Cruz County, southern portions of the Bay Area, and then down into Monterey. But we are seeing some of these showers, and actually a heavy shower working its way onto the peninsula right now. So what does this mean for you as you step outside? Well, moderate rainfall for most, but if you are traveling from Daly City down 280, eventually heading down to Woodside, this is where some of the heaviest of rainfall is being seen. And now making its way further to the east, that's the airport right there. San Mateo also in line of this area of heavy showers. So we are seeing some showers on the peninsula right now. That is making for some wet roadways on 280, on 101, and for those of you crossing 92 on over to Hayward eventually, where rainfall has also picked up over the past few minutes. Just some light showers stretching down 880 from Hayward, Fremont down to Milpitas this morning. San Jose and Sunnyvale, also just some light showers to kick things off. It's that peninsula shower we're looking at right now, which is really the most notable at the moment. Again, the heaviest of rainfall, it's skirting just to our south this morning. This is at 10:15 a.m. right here. so a couple of hours away now. Looking at the heaviest of rain down into Santa Cruz and Monterey counties, but San Jose and areas further southward picking up a little bit more rain than areas further north will. We'll take a breather midday before heavy rainfall moves back into the afternoon. This time around for the North Bay and associated with a different system entirely. What we are going to be looking at into the evening is continued off and on showers before the heaviest of rainfall of all. We're coming along with the strongest of winds and the greatest intensity of rain early tomorrow morning through your morning commute. And that is going to be making for an interesting one as you drive to work Wednesday morning. So give yourself that extra time this morning and do anticipate tomorrow morning's commute to be not so friendly either. Working our way through the day after that, you'll continue to see some off and on areas of rainfall, which could be heavy at times for your Wednesday. Before after that, we do have much more to look forward to into the upcoming weekend in the way of clearing skies and a much better forecast to step out there. In the meantime, temperatures cool this morning, upper 40s to low 50s, so jackets are necessary, just like those umbrellas will come in handy today. A midday break from the rain before showers increase again tonight, especially for the North Bay. Daytime highs mid-50s to upper 50s, even a couple low 60s. I'm tracking these showers all morning long, so stay with us. Robin?
All right, I am tracking your morning commute, and we are starting off with a look at 80 west heading into San Francisco, leading up to the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. We have some cash-paying folks getting stuck in a bit of a line here at the pay gate. So yeah, it's filling in, it's growing, but it's still very quiet. So I don't have any hot spots or major alerts to report. And overall, it's a pretty decent commute coming in. Your average is under 15 minutes, so that's good. We'll take a look at some more bridges, drive times, and freeways coming up. James?
All right, thank you very much, Robin. In the North Bay, after devastating flooding in Guerneville, victims say they're now concerned about toxic waste. Piles of debris are scattered about after last week's flooding. You can see that here in these pictures. That flood destroyed some items, caused others to mold, and that's now what's triggering the fear about toxins. Some residents were told by recology workers that they wouldn't be coming back to clean up additional items. They say it'd be the residents' job to get it hauled away.
It's going to ruin Mother Nature. It's going to ruin, it's going to take the shine off of a beautiful city, a beautiful town that people use year round for vacation. It's a vacation wonderland, basically. People want to go up there and they want to taste wine and they want to float down the river and they want to be a part of the great food that we have up there. And we need them back. We want those people to come back.
According to Sonoma County supervisors, if you are unable to clear your debris, you can always go to the local assistance center in Guerneville. That's on Main Street. There are now 2 volunteer groups hauling away personal items.
5:04 in the South Bay. Police are warning of a spike in burglaries in Milpitas since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, the majority of these auto burglaries are happening in the parking lots of shopping centers. We've got Kron4's Will Tran joining us now live with what you need to know. Will?
I'm at McCarthy Ranch, and you would think a place like this would be safe with all the cameras around, the shops and shoppers, but instead, this is one of the hot spots in Milpitas for car break-ins. So they're telling people if you have valuables, make sure to put your stuff away because you don't want to tempt the burglars from breaking into your car. Let's do a breakdown of just how explosive it's been in Milpitas. Since the beginning of the year, we have seen 145 car burglaries in the city of Milpitas. 88 of them just happened in January, 45 of them in February. So it slowed down a little bit in February, but it's still way above pace for the average time for any given year in the city of Milpitas. Let's talk about some of the hot spots that the burglaries have been taking place. Most of the times they've been happening in shopping centers like Alford Center, Milpitas Square, McCarthy Ranch, where I'm currently located, and the Great Mall, where thousands of people go on a daily basis. So there are so many people out there, but it's so brazen that these burglars they don't even care about that. They get into the cars and get away, and they say you are the first line of defense. If you have something valuable, put it in your trunk or take it with you. In the meantime, the city of Milpitas, the Milpitas Police Department, they're working with security guards. They've also stepped up the patrols in the areas and worked with the stores to try to make sure that all eyes are on the parking lots while they try to catch these burglars. Back to you.
Thanks, Will. 5:06 is the time, and school board members in Oakland have decided to make $22 million in cuts. This comes right after the teachers just voted in favor of their new contract. Yesterday, during a 3-hour board meeting, the Oakland Unified School Board voted 4-3 to make massive cuts to next year's budget. Dozens of students, teachers, and members of the community expressed disappointment and anger at the plan, but the teachers union is defending the decision.
Some of that is our cuts that were going to take place anyway, because that's the kind of state that we're in as a district, but the majority of it was certainly for these increases for the pay.
There will be more investments in student supports. Also, there will be smaller class size, especially in high needs areas, and also it addresses moving closer towards a living wage.
Library programs, foster care, case managers, African-American male achievement, and restorative justice. Those are just among some of the programs that are supposed to be cut. Everybody is hoping now the governor's office steps in and provides more funding to save the programs. Many Oakland parents say their kids are happy, though, to be back at school now that the strike is over. But some say there still is work to do. Kron4's Michelle Kingston talks to the parents.
The sign behind me says, "We love our teachers," and that is exactly how parents and students feel here at Redwood Heights Elementary School. They're happy that the strike is over, but they say the deal may not be enough.
We're really happy the strike is over, really glad that it happened and think it was the right thing. I feel like there's a lot of momentum and support for schools and teachers, a lot of messages being sent that the whole city rallied around better schools and better experiences for our students and teachers.
I am very proud of Oakland, and I hope that the teachers around the country continue their efforts.
After a week-long strike, students are back to class at all 86 Oakland schools. Teachers voted Sunday to ratify their contract deal with the district, ending the 7-day strike. The Oakland Education Association says union members voted to approve the agreement, increasing teachers' salaries.
I think the teachers still deserve better, and the fight is not over, but the community really came together to show support of the teachers and our students, and we're going to keep on pushing for change.
Parents at Redwood Heights Elementary say they had days during the strike with no students crossing the picket line. Parents stepping up to feed the teachers and educating students while they were out of class. Parents here say their children were thrilled to get back to school on Monday, back to their friends and their beloved teachers.
We're very glad it's over, but also realize that, not everything that we wanted to accomplish was accomplished, and so that there's still work to do, and there's still fighting for the schools that our kids deserve and that our teachers deserve.
In Oakland, Michelle Kingston, Kron4 News.
In the East Bay, police are investigating the death of a man whose body was found on a dirt trail near the Arroyo Creek area in Livermore. Police are treating this death as a suspicious case for the moment. The body was found just before 8 o'clock yesterday morning, lying in shrubbery off the trail. Authorities haven't identified the body just yet. Richmond police say that a group of men were arguing outside Hilltop Mall before shots were fired last night. The mall closed early following that shooting just before 6 o'clock. And when officers arrived at the mall, they couldn't find any victims, but they did see a trail of blood. The victim, turns out, took himself to the hospital with a single gunshot wound that was considered non-life-threatening.
Time now is 5:10. The House Judiciary Committee is opening an investigation into President Trump's campaign, businesses, and administration. Yesterday, the committee formally requested documents from more than 80 people and entities with ties to the president, and that includes Donald Trump Jr. and the CFO of the Trump Organization. The committee is looking at possible obstruction of justice and hush money payments to women, as well as collusion with Russia and using the office for personal gain. The investigation could lay the groundwork for Democrats if they choose to pursue impeachment proceedings.
Impeachment is a long way down the road. We don't have the facts yet, but we're going to initiate proper investigations. It's very clear that the president obstructed justice. It's very clear.
What they're doing is exercising their constitutional responsibility for oversight. To do anything less would be delinquent in our duties than to exercise our oversight.
President Trump denies any wrongdoing and calls the people investigating his dealings, quote, sick. 5:11 right now and still ahead on the Kron4 Morning News. Cleanup is underway after the deadly tornadoes that ripped through Alabama and Georgia. Plus, protests lead to arrests in Sacramento after no charges were filed against the officers in the fatal shooting death of Stephon Clark. And we're going to hear from the two young sisters who got lost in the woods and how they were able to survive the elements.
And looking at another round of rain on our doorstep, some of our heaviest of showers yet to even move their way on shore. I'm tracking it out for you through the morning.
And I'm keeping my eyes on your morning commute. It's stacking up quickly at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. We have a long line here, especially for the cash payers. It's already jammed from 880. I'll check more bridges after the break.
From the Bay Area's local news station, we begin now with breaking news.
Almost 4 years I've been taking about it. I've never seen this happen.
Breaking news that we're following this morning. No BART service in the Bay Area right now. It's all because of a computer problem that happened overnight. Officials made the announcement on Twitter about 10 before 6 this morning. No word just yet on when BART will reopen. It is closed throughout the Bay Area. Good morning, everybody. I'm Marty Gonzalez. We want to go now to Kron4 Sarah Stinson, who is at a BART station in Walnut Creek. She's been there all morning long. She has the latest for us. Sarah?
Marty, I've been here, since 6 o'clock. People have been trying to figure out what they're going to do. If you can imagine, people depend on BART to get to work, to get home, to just go to San Francisco for the day. So people are just completely in awe that BART is shut down. So we're here talking to people. A lot of people confused on what to do next. BART has issued all this information on Twitter, which some people find to be a little annoying because not everyone uses Twitter. But that's why we're here to give you the latest information. Now, we have video. You can see the gate is just closed. It looks as if the BART station just isn't open yet, but it is shut down. And every single BART station is shut down. Now, they had some computer problems that developed overnight. The issue occurred as crews were working on BART's uninterruptible power supply in Oakland, but it ran into problems that impacted the traction power supply and train control routing system, something that even when they get the power back on, they have to make sure it reboots and make sure that it's safe, because that is a huge impact to the entire system. Now, I talked to one man. He works at the San Francisco airport. He says he is not sure what he's going to do next. Take a listen.
I'll probably wait a little longer. If the bus system gets in place, well, I'll take it. If not, I'll just go home.
And that's what a lot of people are saying. They're calling their work saying BART is shut down. I don't know what to do. Most people I've talked to, their employer is being understanding. Obviously, this is out of people's control. But there is a couple buses that have arrived, the bridge buses, a lot of them going to Orinda, which isn't where a lot of people are trying to go. They're trying to go further to Oakland and some to San Francisco. A lot of people with their suitcases trying to get to the airport. So a huge impact, but they do have buses here. That is a step in the right direction. But most people I've talked to are actually just holding on to hope, saying, you know what, it could come back on any minute. So I'm going to stick it out. So we'll have to continue to follow this, and we'll let you know as soon as we have an update. But if you are planning on taking BART, I would probably just stay home or take another type of transportation. Marty, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, before I let you go, Sarah, let me see if we have this right. The buses are going only as far as Orinda? Is that right?
The ones so far that we've seen here are going to Orinda. So a lot of people are confused. Why Orinda? Why Lafayette? Because they want to go further. Oakland, San Francisco. So here's one man. Sir, where are you going?
Lafayette and Orinda.
Oh, Orinda. Yep. See, Marty. So a lot of them going to Orinda, which confuses people because they need to go further than that.
Yeah.
So maybe take an Uber, I'm thinking.
All right. Good advice. Sarah Stinson reporting live for us from Walnut Creek. We'll continue to stay on top of this story for you throughout the morning. The other big news of the day, yet another storm in the Bay Area as we take a look at Storm Tracker 4. A lot of green there. Dave's here to sort it all out for us.
And a wave of the more heavier showers, as you can see, just just getting in there, encroaching. Live shot from Barcadero, a couple raindrops on there too. So we're getting some rain in the city too.
Pretty widespread, huh?
Yeah, it will be embedded with embedded some heavy rain in there, but generally speaking, a good widespread rain for the whole Bay Area today. I think the heaviest is going to be probably in the western areas to start, and then getting into the East Bay for the early afternoon. Again, it will break up again for everybody this afternoon too. But that's a general idea about when the heaviest hit will be. There you can see it right there, lined up right off the coast, parallel to the coast, all the way from Marin, all the way down to San Mateo County. Really extends into Monterey as well. Then we're starting to get some into Contra Costa County, as you will notice, onto the East Bay Hills, but still has yet to get to the south. That'll be the last stop on the journey. Notice a little bit of arcing happening with our front. We'll get some winds picking up with all of this too, so that, quote, stormy feel is what we're going to have today. Contrasted really with Sunday, that will be more of a scattered shower event in terms of contrast. SFO, because of all of this, maybe we're getting delays of an hour and 24 minutes with all of this. Meanwhile, Pleasant Hill, as you can take a good shot there, we're looking at, well, Mount Diablo. We can't see all of it. Certainly, it's kind of covered up a little bit, as you can see by some of the cloud cover. This is about the leading edge of where the rain is to the south and to the east now. Most of it is back to the north, the heavier stuff that is already saturated the ground. A look at the winds. We're still pretty much southeasterly. That's because the front is still hanging out here. Once it passes, that will drive winds more onshore, a little bit cooler. Temperatures hanging in the upper 40s for now. 45 for Livermore. Also looking at 46 Antioch. Pair of 4s up there, by the way, for Santa Rosa. With all this cloud cover, temperatures have been pretty moderate. There we go. We get some sun out, maybe potentially in the mid-afternoon. But probably the most, quote, rocky of the day will be for everybody as a general rule, maybe around 11 to say 2 o'clock or so before it starts breaking up. We're going to go and track all of this for you coming up in just a bit. Marty.
All right, Dave, thanks a lot. See you in a few minutes. The Oakland Unified School District is planning layoffs in the wake of a contract agreement with the Oakland teachers. The board voted on Monday to cut $22 million from its budget in order to fulfill the new contract agreement with the teachers. The district is planning to lay off more than 100 employees, but the exact number has not yet been released. School officials must provide notice this month to employees who will be laid off. They will take effect at the end of the school year in June. Also in the East Bay, a strike has been avoided after teachers in San Ramon reached a tentative agreement Friday with the district. It includes a 4% raise and an increase in health benefits, as well as lower student-to-staff ratios. Teachers will get a chance to examine the proposal on Monday, and if it's approved, it could be ratified on March 26th. It has been 1 year since the horrific shooting at a veterans home in Yountville. 3 women were killed by a man who'd been recently discharged from a residential treatment facility. Kron4's Justine Waldman shows us how the victims will be remembered at a special ceremony later today.
Outside what was the Pathway home hang 4 hearts, 1 for each victim. Executive Director Christine Lober, Clinical Director Jennifer Gray Golick, Psychologist Jennifer Gonzalez-Shushariba, who was 7 months pregnant. The smaller heart is for her unborn daughter.
It's been a very challenging year.
Larry Kamer speaks for the Pathway home, which has now closed. It shuffled patients to other facilities, saying it was too difficult to go back after 36-year-old Albert Wong shot the woman who had been part of his care at the Veterans Home of California. He then shot himself in the head and died. Families of the victims have recently filed wrongful death lawsuits against the state and the county.
I have a family here that lost a loved one, so it couldn't be any worse for them.
Attorney Ronald Foreman, who represents Golick's husband and 10-year-old daughter, claims the facility did not warn that Wong had made other threats of violence and lacked proper security.
The state of California is held to the duty that relates to their negligence, and they also have to maintain a property in a safe condition, and the lawsuit will prove that the property was maintained in a dangerous condition.
Previously, the state, county, and sheriff's office declined to comment, citing pending litigation. The Lobers have started a foundation and scholarship program in her name in her hometown of Boston. There's also a new plaque at the San Francisco VA Medical Center in honor of Gonzalez-Shushariba. Now, 1 year later, the community prepares to pause and remember the women killed, who were mothers, daughters, wives, and best friends, after what has been a very difficult year.
Some people are still very angry. Some people are still dealing with the trauma, the PTSD that arose from this incident. Lots of people are still asking questions about how it could have happened.
Justine Waldman, Kron4 News.
The remembrance ceremony starts at noon today at Veterans Memorial Park in Yountville. Everyone is welcome, and if you can't make it, we will be streaming it live on our new Kron4 app. Still ahead this morning on Kron4 News Weekend, CHP officers want you to be on the lookout for a person who's throwing rocks at cars along a South Bay highway. Plus, how city leaders in San Jose are planning to move RVs off the side of the road. Breaking news we've been following for you this Saturday morning. No BART service in the Bay Area because of a computer issue. Officials making that announcement early this morning before 6 a.m. on Twitter. No word just yet on when services will be restored, but right now there is no BART service in the Bay Area. Want to get more information about the shutdown from Alicia Trost from BART. Alicia, good morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering if you could tell us any idea when service will be restored.
We don't know yet. I have checked in with our engineering crews that are troubleshooting this problem. They told me they've identified the problem, which is obviously good news. But until we're able to get these power systems back up and running, we cannot dispatch trains.
So in the meantime, BART is working on getting a bus bridge going, I would guess?
We have mutual aid from all of the partner transit agencies that currently have service that serves our stations. Samtrans has also given us 2 dedicated buses that are currently running between Millbrae and Daly City. So what riders can do is they look up their local bus agency, whether it's Muni or AC Transit, County Connection, and they're able to ride those systems from our station for free. That's parallel service, and that's until we get buses running, BART trains running again.
We heard earlier from our reporter at the Walnut Creek station that buses were there, but were going only as far as Orinda. Is that correct?
So it's the established bus lines. Whatever AC Transit already runs that also serves our stations, that is what's offered at this moment. We're lucky that we have bus service that does run between our stations, but it's correct that they don't run stop by stop by stop. It's the existing bus lines that already exist.
So you would recommend for someone who is, let's say, at the Walnut Creek station to get on their phone and figure out which bus service would be best for them?
That's correct. So what combination of service? There's also other options like the ferries and Capital Corridor. And so this is where we need our riders to have a little patience and then to look up other transit options available to them.
Alicia, just an estimate, roughly how many people use BART on a weekend?
Well, on Saturdays in the morning, the ridership is very high. It's really, if we continue to get towards the afternoon, we do see around 200,000 riders on a Saturday. Certainly not what we get Monday through Friday, but it's still very impactful.
Right. And without getting too technical, what is the cause of the problem?
The reason we can't have train service is because we cannot power up traction power or our routing system. But it's not because we were working on those systems. We were working on a separate emergency supply power system, and inadvertently something they did impacted us being able to power up these other critical systems.
Yeah. Okay. So for right now, the best way that people can get around is either, I would guess, ride share, or as you mentioned, the other services such as buses, ferries, other things like that.
Absolutely.
All right. Alicia Trost with BART, thanks a lot for joining us on what's a very busy morning for you. And we'll continue to keep you on top of this situation. But for right now, BART is down. There's no word on when service will continue. You just heard from Alicia with BART saying that your best bet is to figure out another way to get around the Bay Area, to get to work, get to wherever you need to go by using buses or ride share, because right now, BART is down. Dave?
All right, Marty, we're keeping tracks on the weather here. Storm Tracker 4 noting some moderate to some heavier rain showers just out to sea here, about to enter into San Francisco and the peninsula. Keep it here. We'll be tracking what your weekend looks like.
From the Bay Area's local news station, we begin now with breaking news.
In those 4 years I've been taking BART, I've never seen this happen.
Breaking news that we're following for you this Saturday morning. No BART service right now because of a computer problem. So BART is shut down around the Bay Area. There is no word on when it will reopen, but we do have some glimmer of good news. Kron4's Sarah Stinson joining us live this morning. Sarah, why don't you share that good news that you told us about a few minutes ago?
Well, Marty, good news is that they are getting closer and closer to opening the doors at every single BART station. After being shut down for 3 hours, we're hearing live updates over the intercom. They were told to open the gate, and then all of a sudden another woman came back on the intercom and said, do not open the gate. I repeat, do not open the gate. So it looks like they're still getting through a couple kinks and working out the kinks so that they can open the gate, get people to where they need to be. But even when they open the gates and let people in, it's going to be a process to get the trains back up and running. It's going to completely mess up the whole schedule. But take a look at this video from earlier. You can see people standing around. You can see the gates completely closed. A lot of people just looking at their phones, trying to figure out how they're going to get to where they need to go. A lot of people use BART on weekends to get to work, to take a nice day in San Francisco, Oakland, you name it, and other people just getting home after visiting a friend here. Now, we're waiting for them to open this, but at least the lights have turned on, the escalators have turned on. All the lines have been completely shut off since 5:50 this morning due to a computer problem that developed overnight. They had some issues with the uninterruptible power supply in Oakland that had some problems and definitely messed with the traction power supply system and the train control routing system. So those are two very, very important things, and that's why they've had to reboot the whole system. Take a listen to this couple I talked to. They were on their way to the San Francisco International Airport and had their suitcases, and it's closed though.
They open.
Yeah,
I'm sure they open by now, even though it's Saturday.
I don't understand it, but she came out and told us, and that's it now.
We'll get there.
Okay, well, you're seeing it live right now here on the Kron4 Morning News. They just opened up the gates. Check this out. It's everybody is rushing in here like excited, and you can see people getting on the escalator, finally able to get through. Some people have stayed here since 6 in the morning. They just left. They just didn't want to leave. They had faith that it would come back on, and check it out. It is back open. They haven't opened the ticket kiosk area, so some people have to go over there and get their tickets, but definitely something we just can't believe this just happened live on our news channel. So they are all very excited to be going up and taking a BART. But as I said earlier, it's going to take some time because the train that comes here is at Bay Point. So it's going to take time for that train to get here and for people to actually be able to get on it and then to get to where they need to be. So everybody needs to just be patient and realize that the current schedule is definitely going to be changed. Marty, I'll send it back to you.
That was great timing, Sarah, to see the escalators working, the gates open, and everybody starting to get on board their trains. As you mentioned, though, it is going to be not business as usual, but after about 3 hours, BART is back up and operating again. That's Sarah Stinson reporting live for us from the Walnut Creek station. We'll continue to monitor the situation to see how BART's doing throughout the rest of the morning. Well, we're tracking yet another storm for the Bay Area. Dave Spart's here to tell us more about that. Hi, Dave.
Yeah, hi, Marty. We're just getting the heavy rains, as you can see from the radar, just marching through basically the North Bay now, extending down to San Francisco and the peninsula. This will be probably in the East Bay as we approach the lunch hour. But there you can see in Napa County, it looks like, and good news, it got out of Sonoma County, but Napa County down to San Francisco and now down to, as you will see, the peninsula with some of the heavier rains. A little closer inspection, you can see actually where these heavier cells are hitting. Almost about to hit Vallejo, it looks like, with the more lighter, moderate showers getting off to San Ramon, fighting maybe potentially through a little bit of so-called virga to get started, but most of that will be taken care of. Heading further to the south, Santa Cruz Mountains, again with another line of the heavier stuff. This low that's in our backyard is going to do kind of a little bit of a turn throughout the day today, and as it starts to go to the south, it will continue to throw back these lines of rain showers. Not as intense probably as right now or today we're going to get, but still got to mention that for tomorrow's forecast again. And Mendocino County is sending you way up north here. We've got snow from a viewer that sent this in. I don't know exactly where that is in the county, but it gives you a general idea that this system is also producing the white stuff, as you will notice there. Looks like an old 1920s car there. I think it's a utility vehicle of some sort. SFO that we're looking at, 2-hour delays, 24 minutes or so due to the weather. Hopefully some of the people getting stranded, this may help you catch your flight a little bit if maybe your flight gets delayed much later. A look at Lick Observatory. It changes with every time we look at it. Before we had all of that fog going on covering it up. Now, as you can see, it's clearing out just a touch. Look at Bay Area winds. We're going to have more of this coming up in just a bit. Marty.
We're back at 8:30 with more breaking news this morning. Turns out all charges are being dropped against actor Jussie Smollett. Smollett was indicted on 16 felony counts related to making a false report that he was attacked by two men who shouted racial and homophobic slurs. Police had said that he made up the story because he was unhappy with his pay on the show Empire and that he was trying to promote his career. TMZ reporting now that part of this agreement has him performing community service. His attorney says that Smollett's record will be wiped clean. The prosecutor hasn't yet commented on what led his office to make this surprising reversal, but we do understand that Jussie Smollett himself will be making comments here shortly. We've got live cameras standing by, and as soon as he begins that press conference, we'll try and bring that to you live. And here you're looking at those live pictures right now, so stay tuned.
That's from the courthouse. Smollett, he showed up to court today thinking that that was another court appearance, and all of a sudden he and his team, as well as the rest of the nation, found out that the charges have been dropped. It appears that he will forfeit his $10,000 bond, so the court gets to keep that. And TMZ is reporting that he will have to do some community service. So it looks like, according to TMZ, that this is part of a plea deal worked out between the two sides, the prosecution, as well as his defense team. You can see that's the courthouse there, all those cameras to the left of your screen. So everybody's positioned. You're just anxiously waiting for Jussie to come out, and when he does, we will take that live for you.
All right, and also some breaking news this morning, too. The MLB has just announced that San Francisco Giants president and CEO Larry Baer is being suspended until July 1st. This follows the incident that you see on your screen here. It was caught on video back on March 1st. Larry Baer and his wife arguing over a cell phone. You can see she falls to the ground at that point. His wife, Pam, she calls for help. Again, caught on camera, embarrassing for both of them. Shortly after this video surfaced, Larry Baer took leave of absence and apologized. Well, the MLB says the suspension will be unpaid.
Major League Baseball commissioner, he chimed in and he said he's holding Larry Baer to a higher standard. Larry Baer, he issued this statement over the past hour. So take a good look at your screen. Baer goes, I respect and accept the commissioner's decision and appreciate the fair and thorough process undertaken by Major League Baseball and the Giants. I made a serious mistake that I sincerely regret, and I'm truly sorry for my actions. My unacceptable behavior fell well short of what must be demanded of every person.
All right, and again, we are following those live pictures of Jussie Smollett coming out of the courtroom. If he should come to the cameras and start talking, we'll break to that when it happens. But in the meantime, let's get you a check of weather and traffic, beginning with the forecast. Hey, John?
Hey, guys. Yeah, we are looking at pretty nice and dry weather ahead of us today. Take a look at this view of the Golden Gate Bridge. Some very low cloud cover coming through. You can only see the bottom of it right there. So it's not making contact with the ground, not technically fog, just some low clouds that are drifting on through the bay this morning. This is a look outside at the big picture setup. We do have that rainfall we saw yesterday moving now into the Sierra Nevada and going to be dropping with it a bunch of snowfall along with a system that moves through tonight. In the midst of these two, a nice little break today. So some sunshine out there for you and daytime highs back up into the mid to even upper 60s. Talking more in your forecast and tonight and tomorrow's rain still ahead. Robin?
It's still a busy drive into San Francisco this morning. So if you need to use westbound 80, know that it looks a little better. It's not a bad commute, but yes, it is still backed up. And now it's starting to fill in once again at the 880 overcrossing. About 30 minutes ago, it had thinned out. So it's just another wave of crowding, but it's only 16 minutes off to Fremont Street. Maybe you take Highway 4. If so, it's about a half hour from Antioch to Concord. That's not bad. And if you plan on continuing over to 680, there's a lot of stop and go traffic from 242 in Concord through Walnut Creek and on over to the Alamo side. So still heavy there going south. We'll check some more slowdowns for you coming up. James, Will?
Thank you very much, Robin. Again, more breaking news, this time out of Pacifica, where the Coast Guard is actively searching for a man who went missing while swimming in the ocean overnight with 2 friends.
Kron4 Sarah Stinson is live at the scene, giving us updates throughout the morning. We're possibly into the 5th hour of the search. Coast Guard making any progress, Sarah?
Well, it's been over 4 hours for sure, and they are still combing the area here at Rockaway Beach. We just found out that the group of friends that this 28-year-old man was with, they called 911 about 45 minutes after he actually went missing. So when police arrived, they were a little bit behind in the searching process, and they have not stopped since. They've been combing the area from the sky, from the water, coast to coast on the roads. They're doing everything they can to locate this 28-year-old man who got swept out to sea. Like I said, he was out here with a group of friends. They're staying at a local hotel, and they were hanging out here at the beach. 2 of them went in the water, and they noticed the current was just way too strong. They decided to come back in. One disappeared at that time. The other person looked behind, and their friend was just gone. Just found out they were not in wetsuits, and the 28-year-old man, he was in boxers, so he was barely wearing any clothes, and the water out there is frigid, just beyond frigid. The surfers who come out here, they wear very thick wetsuits, so it is very cold out there. The current is strong. Now, police cannot comment yet if the group was under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but as I said, they called 911 for help at 4:21 in the morning, and apparently after their friend went missing 45 minutes prior to that, they tried to search. They looked everywhere for themselves, and that's when they realized they need to call for help. Now, as I said, the Coast Guard has been out here with a boat and a helicopter to really extend this search, and I'm telling you, they're going back and forth, hitting every single inch of this area of Rockaway Beach. Take a listen to Pacifica Police. They explain the next steps in this process.
From here on out, we're going to continue the search throughout the day. We'll put out a missing persons bulletin to all the local agencies here up and down the coast.
And obviously everyone on the coast is looking for this 28-year-old man. They're not telling us name at this time, as it is a sensitive situation, and they want to just out of respect for the family and the friends, withhold the name of this person. They have notified the family that he is missing, and the friends were sitting by here for a while, but as of now, they have left the scene, a very sensitive scene at that. So we'll continue to follow this search as it continues this morning. I'm live in Pacifica, Sarah Stinson, Kron4 News.
Sarah, really quickly, did they tell you where these gentlemen were from when visiting Pacifica?
No, they won't say where they're from. They're really trying to be sensitive to the situation. They don't want to give too many details away. They just said his age and that they were staying in a local hotel here. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah.
We could soon learn the identity of the woman whose body was found along Fort Funston Beach in San Francisco. The body was found in the same spot where 22-year-old Kira Sunshine Scarlett was buried under a landslide about a month ago. She was walking along the cliffs at the time with another woman and a dog. The other woman and the dog were partially buried but survived, and this body was found yesterday morning, and we took it live on Kron4 Morning News, and then now it's up to the medical examiner's office to make a positive identification.
Still ahead on the Kron4 Morning News, we'll head to the North Bay and take a look at the cleanup efforts still underway following those devastating floods in Guerneville. We'll update you on the progress they're making.